It's the good people with. Oh my god, we're already laughing. We're already laughing. What
Sorry.
happened?
Some
What I
sort of
missed?
loud noise, but Hannah and I both like jumped a little bit.
A loud noise. Was it in somebody's mic or something?
I think
don't
so.
know, but it must have been you because we didn't like Lesh and I immediately looked at each other like, what's that?
Oh, all right. Well, it's the good people with Eric and Hannah. It's been a long time since I've hit this button.
Mm-hmm.
So long.
It is a long time since I've hit this button. I'm just realizing it now. I'm going to take a look real quick here. Thankfully, I still have the
over a
arc.
year now.
I have the archive
Wow.
still. So the last episode was episode 28, and that was back in. Archive. There it is. Who wants to take a wild guess? Who wants to take a wild guess when episode 28 was?
March of
November.
2023.
Was it November 2022?
You were close. It's actually February 11th, 23.
Oh, okay.
So it has been, it's been a year since this show has gone live. Obviously, you ladies have been very, very, very busy. Of course, good people with Eric and Hannah. It is myself, Eric, and then I got Hannah K, and then our special guest from Good Friends, Good Games, Leshkee's here.
Me.
It's you. You both you ladies. Both you ladies have really been on a siesta
Journey.
We timed this out perfectly.
Yes.
We got together and we were like, we're absolutely going to get pregnant around the same time.
Well, you both got married around the same time, give or take, right?
Well, give or take. Well, we had like the same timeline.
I was October 2021, and then Lush, you were
May 2022.
May, yeah.
Okay, so you both got married around the same time,
Mm.
and then you both. Well, it's your story. This is your lady's story, so I'll let you go ahead and we'll let you say it. But before we get that, we'll play a little bit of a catch up here. So, aside from the obvious, Hannah, what have you been up to this past few weeks? What have you been doing?
I started back to work, so I'm like a working mom now.
Ayo.
Ayo. Ayo.
It's
With like a sad
ayo.
face. Ayo.
Ayo.
But also like good in some ways, and we'll get into that. But like it's just literally been like work, like get home, bathe the baby, or he's not even a baby anymore. Bathe Bobby, feed, and then bedtime. And then it's like it just repeats. So my days are very like repetitive as of recent. So besides that, it's just been like working and mothering.
The work thing. So
Mhm.
did you find yourself like, did you get into that mode where you're like, oh God, I need to like go back to work? Or I know I think no one really misses working, but I think people feel like maybe they get hung up and they're like, I need to go back to work, or I need to do something. Did you get that like anxiety of like, I should be doing something?
It's weird because to be honest, there's like this part of me that's like, I enjoy working because I like to keep busy. I also like having like my own money. Dustin and I are married. Like, if I need something, like he's got it. You know what I mean? But it's like just to have the kind of autonomy. Like I missed that. I missed being around people because when you're a stay-at-home mom, you're stuck. I mean, the only person you're really talking to is a little baby who can't talk back to you. So I mean, there's some pros and cons. Like if I could create my perfect situation, my perfect situation would be to work part-time, but that's just not possible because daycare doesn't give you a discount for part-time. You always have to pay full cost.
Mm-hmm.
So, just like my perfect scenario is not an option, but like it was hard because like I genuinely loved being home with Bobby, but I also hated it at the same time. And this is nothing against Bobby. Like if my kid watches this like one day in the future, like it's just very difficult. And I think a lot of people come at it and they think, oh, you get to stay at home and play with the baby. Like you have no idea. And it's not, I don't want to sound like so harsh about it, but like you really just don't have a clue until you are doing it.
Yeah. 100%.
It's very lonely, and we'll get more into it as like we progress the episode, but like
I feel like I feel like I feel like it's the luxuries of like when you get up on your own, like when you're, when it's just yourself that you're reliant on. Like you lose those
Mhm.
luxury, like, oh, like I like to get up and make my coffee first thing in the morning. But like it's like, no, I gotta get up, I gotta go make sure Bobby is, tended
Mhm.
to and all that stuff. Is Bobby awake? Is he already like
Yeah.
trying to crawl out of his crib or whatever? Those kind of things.
Mhm.
And where it's
It's
just
just
like
a lot
me.
that you're worried about.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
Pow and I, like we get up, like we have a routine. Like we get up, we get our snack in, then we go do our workouts, and then we come home and like go to work or do our thing. But it's like the days like where I don't have any of that, like a Saturday when we're not recording or something, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna make my coffee, I'm gonna, chill, read this a little bit. And like I can see where you wouldn't get that, you know,
Mhm.
you wouldn't get that anymore. And then yeah, it can have an effect on you. Leshkee, aside
Mhm.
from the obvious, what have you been up to? They miss you very, very much on the Good Friends, Good Game side of things, by the way.
I miss it too. Hopefully I can actually start participating. Like I said, the issue was where my computer was, but um I mean similar to Hannah, it's been mothering and working. I mean, recently I just got back from Florida. I went to Florida to take TJ for his first Disney trip. Um and it went really well, and we had a freaking blast. We're still like, he came back home walking. That's how good of a vacation it was, I guess, for him. And it
Did he
was
walk through the park? He just like got up and started
I wouldn't
running.
let him. I wouldn't let him. But no, he was just because we stayed at my parents' house. And I guess maybe because he was barefoot more, he got more confident and just decided to start walking around. But yeah, no, that's like the most coolest thing I did recently was going to Disney and go on a vacation. That was tiring, but still great.
Were you like were you regular Disney visitors? Or was this one of those?
No, I would try to go like once a year. It gets
Oh my
pricey,
God.
obviously, but ideally, I would love to have a season pass. But you got flights, you got to take off from work, you got to pay for a dog sitter, and
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense for you.
Yeah.
But like,
makes
because
it
like
a
I've
lot
always
more
been in
expensive.
Southern California, and I've always lived maybe 20 minutes from Disneyland. Like now
Right.
LA's further. LA's like an hour to Disneyland in traffic, right?
Mhm.
But like I used to always live like 20, 30 minutes from Disneyland. And like you partially know you got the Hispanic in you, but like Hispanics, it's like you go to Disneyland, it's like once every 5 years. Like and then like if you're
it
lucky.
gets expensive.
Yeah, if you're lucky,
Mhm.
it's
If
like
I were to
once
live
every
in
5 years.
Florida, I'm getting a season pass, and I'm
Yeah.
going often.
Well,
Well, it depends on where in Florida,
but that's cool. Like Pow and I bought
Yeah.
the year pass to Universal Studios. Like we live 10 minutes from Universal Studios. So like Pow
Oh,
and I bought
nice.
year passes. I got to go to Hogwarts and all that good stuff.
Nice.
Oh, that's good.
I went to the Mario Land. So like I was like a little kid going
That's
around, roaming
good.
around Mario Land. Ate at the cafe thing. That whole like I've done that whole
Ah.
thing.
Check that off the bucket list. I like it.
Yup.
Hogwarts is cool. Is it as cool as, is it Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland, Florida? Do they call it Galaxy's Edge? Or is it something different for Star Wars Land?
Yeah, they
It's
have
called
those
Galaxy's
galaxies.
Edge.
Okay, so
Yep.
Galaxy's Edge. Like, I'm like, Hogwarts is cool, but it's not quite on the level of Galaxy's Edge. But like the
Mhm.
Hogwarts thing, they have that thing where like the kids can go around with their wands and like stand in a certain spot and wave the wand and it like trips the
Right.
doors and unlocks them and all that cool stuff. The like light up on these kids' faces is just amazing. When like
That
awesome.
was the best thing about taking TJ to Disney.
yeah,
Was like seeing his face. Like, granted, like he's not gonna remember a single thing, but I'm gonna remember his reactions to the different
Right.
rides and stuff. And like,
Mhm.
I took so many videos of just his reaction to like the parade and stuff like that. It was just,
they
it
had
was all worth
It's
it.
such a cool thing.
Mhm.
yeah.
All
Pow
the
and I have a
stress went away.
friend. Pow and I have a friend with a 2-year-old, and they went to Disneyland, and he got this like incredible photo, and they were telling us how their son ran up to, I think it was a Minnie Mouse. Like they ran up to Minnie Mouse or whatever,
Mhm.
but they knew that the Minnie Mouse had to have been a mother just because of the way Minnie like hugged the kid.
Mhm.
They did that one where it's
Aw.
like the head on the shoulder thing, like
Aw.
they were like that Minnie
Yeah.
must be a mother or something.
Yeah.
That or just like they do this so much day in and
Yeah.
day out. And they have
Maybe.
to hopefully love kids, because if you go into that job, you're going to be hugging a lot of kids.
Yeah.
So you're either a mother or you love kids.
You know,
Or
yeah,
father.
that's
Or father,
that's
yeah.
I was just, but I was like, that's pretty incredible. It's like they just knew motherly instinct. I guess they knew how to hold the kid, you know, in a tenderly loving way. But yeah, you ladies have been busy. As for myself, Pow and I have been getting into photography again. Like I've always had a photography, but like
nice.
I've always been like taking pictures and stuff like that. But we bought Pow
Mhm.
a camera at a swap meet, and
Oh,
then we went
that's
over to the
awesome.
beach. Yeah, we went over to the beach, and then she's learning like how to expose
Mhm.
pictures and like lighting and all that cool stuff.
That's so
And
cool.
yeah, she's
It's
learning pretty
fun.
quick. She's learning pretty quick. So I've been hanging out in
Good.
camera stores and spending money I don't need to be spending.
Yes, camera stuff's expensive.
It
I got my
is.
DSLR and then I was like, oh, let me just get a lens. And I saw the prices. I'm like, I'm not going to get a lens. I'm just going to stick with what it came with.
You buy the cheaper DSLR. Anyone that wants to do photography and is thinking about what to do, buy the cheaper DSLR and then go save the
good.
money and buy better lenses. 95% of it's lenses.
Yes.
Oh,
It's
okay. That's
almost
good to
always
know.
lenses. Lenses make a
Yeah.
world of difference in what you're doing with a camera. So yeah,
That's good to know.
invest in lenses. Buy a cheaper
Yup.
camera, invest in lenses. So we've been doing that. We've been, we did a trip to Universal Studios not too long ago. We went to WonderCon in Anaheim, which is basically the sister convention to Comic-Con. And we've just been buying comic books. I don't know why I'm buying comic books now.
I envy you, Eric. I envy you so much.
I mean, don't envy me. I
Yeah.
make poor decisions.
The thing is, I want to make poor decisions.
Yeah.
You want to have the freedom to make
I want to
poor
buy
decisions.
myself a comic book. I want to buy myself a game on Steam that will just sit there that I'll never play and not
That's
have to
right.
worry about being like, oh, I should really use this money to get diapers.
Surprisingly
Yeah.
enough, I have curbed that. Like, I do not buy games just because they're on sale on Steam really anymore, unless it's like
I did really
dirt
good
cheap.
last sale.
Unless it's
I did
dirt
really
cheap.
good.
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't buy
90% off. That's it.
Oh yeah, totally. Like I bought
Or
Roller Coaster
70%.
Tycoon for like $3. Like, what's $3
That
gonna
one's
do?
worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what's $3
That one's
gonna
worth it.
do? But like just because it's like 20% off or 15%, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna play this like right now.
Mhm.
Like
Yep.
fine, I know this is not quite a gaming podcast, but like I am literally 20 hours into Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the new one. I'm literally 20 hours into it, and I'm not even halfway done.
Oof.
Wow.
So like I'm
Then
like
I would
I'm
never
not
be able
gonna
to play that
finish
game.
this. I'm not gonna finish this anytime soon. Like, excuse me, I don't need to buy more games, unless they're dirt cheap. So that's been going on.
Yep.
But like, yeah, don't. I mean, we were just Pal and I were talking, and I was like, you know what, babes, I just realized, like, I know we've been enjoying your funds and like, because she's making significantly more money now that she's working, her career job
Mm-hmm.
and got out of retail. She's
Good for
making
her.
significantly more money. But, her job doesn't offer things like 401s or anything like that. She's responsible. Like she puts money into savings. Like she's building an emergency fund. So she's
Right.
responsible with all that. Like she puts money into emergency fund and all that stuff. But I just came to me the other day and like, after we spent like $400 in comic books, $500 in comic books, we were like, Pal's way more into comic books than I am. Like she's, I think like maybe $1,200 in what she's bought so far.
Oh, wow.
Right?
That's amazing. Good for her.
Yeah. I was
Well,
gonna
she's
say,
having
I
like
love that.
she's
I'm jealous, but
like
good
I
for
said-
her.
like I said, she's been responsible. She's putting money in emergencies and all that kind of stuff. But like, she's like,
Right.
I've got all this money now that I do, and she pays all her bills on time. Very responsible with it. But she's like, I think I'm gonna do this, and I'm like, okay, well,
Totally
let's
okay.
yeah, let's go and figure out what the game plan and what price you want to pay and all that stuff. But then like the other day we were driving, and I was like, babes, I just realized your work doesn't offer 401k. Like, once you get the emergency fund where you need it to be, the 3 to 6 months, which is very, very close. Like once you get there, I think we need to go like to a bank and we need to start putting your money into like an IRA or something, because you have no 401,
100%.
no nothing like that right now. So I'm like, you need to start saving for retirement.
Right.
So like we got to plan that out.
Download Acorns. That was like my favorite app I had my IRA on there and I had investment portfolio on there, and I highly recommend it.
I think
It's
if
called.
you're really inclined to go and like learn it and like you have to kind of be
Mhm.
very on top of it too. Because like you can make a bad
Mhm.
mistake and lose money. Um, I think the
Yeah.
raw thing is more like for her, it's like a nice set it and forget it
Steady.
type of thing. Yeah, like
Yeah.
she puts the money away, pre-tax and
You
all that
choose
stuff.
your little, you choose your investments.
Yeah,
Choose like the
Mhm.
packaging or whatever, the ones that not like specific.
right. You just choose like a
That's what I
general
do.
package that invests in these
Mhm.
securities or whatever, and then let the money do its thing. But I was like
Right.
saying
Yeah.
the point of that thing is I'm like, you know what, we probably should start putting your money away for like retirement because I just realized
Yeah.
like, yes, you spent $1,200 in comic book, but at best you're gonna get back, $2,000 in comic in refund,
Right.
in return. So like we'll just
And that's if you sell it.
Yeah,
Which,
yeah,
that's
if
true.
it's sentimental value, sometimes you don't want to sell it. So
right. I've amassed so much crap. Like I've been watching, I sent the video to Hannah, but like I've been watching this creator on YouTube and she's been going on about like overconsumption and how people like are purchasing too much stuff and then it's like just get
yes,
amassed in landfills and everything. And I'm like, I kind of want to be
yes.
minimalist. I think I
I've been,
kind of
yeah. I think ever since having TJ, I've
Mhm.
been more of a minimalist now because I'm like, okay, well, we don't need all this stuff. What are we going to do with all this stuff? And then it's
Right.
like, oh, I don't have the money for this stuff. So it turned into one of those things where like it was forced upon me. But yeah, I used to be one of those people that would just shop and buy things because A, it was on sale, or B, because I was feeling down
Right.
and I wanted to treat myself. And now I
Yeah.
can't really do that.
The what is it, the retail therapy thing, that dose of serotonin, which you do
100%.
get. You get a dose of
Yeah.
serotonin. I've started thinking about like I used to buy like every retro game I would find, like in a Goodwill, whatever, I would buy it, right? And then it was just like, I'm not playing all these. I don't need all these. So what I started doing is like I started focusing on like one thing or two things. I'll be like, I'm gonna focus on my Zelda collection, I'm gonna focus on a Metroid collection, and then if I decide to pursue another one, then we'll go that route. So like I've taken almost
Mhm.
all the stuff that doesn't fit into those categories retro wise, and I've sold it off to a vendor I work with, or I've traded it off with that vendor and been like, hey, I'll give you all this if you give me this, that type of thing.
Right.
And that comes down to like I sent Hannah a bunch of Hot Wheel cars to give to Bobby, her son, and I was like, hey, open them,
That's your
have fun
purging.
with them. Yeah, like enjoy them. Because those things, I had maybe 400 some odd cars just sitting in Rubbermaid bins because I bought them like crazy. Like I would collect them, and
Right.
they were just sitting in Rubbermaid bins in my mom's house. And I'm like, my brother's like, hey, what are we gonna do with these? And I'm like, you know what? Just give them to me.
Let's ship them to Hannah.
Yeah.
She just
My
had a
friend
kid.
has a kid.
Well, that's realistically that is what happened. So
Yeah.
like 100
Let
some
a
odd
kid have the
cars,
joy. Yep.
150, 200. I mean, my numbers are probably off, but for the sake of it, like 150 some odd cars went straight to Toys for Tots last Christmas. Like
Oh.
I just dumped them in the Toys for Tots bin. I said some kids are going to be very happy this year.
Mhm.
Probably another 100 cars went over to my coworker that has the 2-year-old, and that was his Christmas present / birthday present. I was like, we
Mhm.
bought him one of those launch ramps, and we gave him like literally box full of cars. And
That's
then
awesome.
That's
I have
awesome.
another friend who's got like a 9-year-old. I sent him a bunch of cars. And then Hannah got the last of the batch. I kept one box to myself of like all the special ones that I put some money into. I kept those.
Yeah, that's
But
really
everything
good, though.
else, everything else went to, friends that had kids, or they went to
Right.
the donation.
Purging is always feeling good.
Right. And
Feels
I'm
good to
like,
purge.
yeah. And I'm like, purge. And now I'm like, okay, what do I do with all these toys? Like there's Star Wars toys. There's all kinds of stuff I've amassed over the years. And I'm like, well, I'm in this comic book thing now. Maybe I go and I sell off all these toys, take what I get from it, and then I go invest in like, some like Grail comic book or something.
Mhm.
I'm like looking at a Ninja Turtles #1 from like 1983 or whatever. And it's like $6,000. I'm like, ugh. I got tons of stuff that can go away. Maybe I'll do this, type of thing. But that's where I've been. And like, I've just been trying to purge things. And I'm like, I have too much stuff. I don't need this anymore. But
Feel that.
alas, this is not
I
about
feel
me.
that too.
This is about you ladies. This is about you ladies. You ladies have been on, like you said yourselves, an adventure. So Let's get rolling. So
Mm-hmm.
you are both new mothers. Well,
Yeah.
what defines new mother? Where do they cut off new mother? 1 year,
I
2
don't
years?
know. I would say probably.
I mean,
I don't.
even then, I think we're new mothers till the end of it because, like,
Yeah.
there's so many different stages in a child's life.
Right.
Mhm.
Because, like, oh, hey, I'm new to having a teen. So you're still a new mom.
Yeah.
I
What if
mean,
it's
I'm
like the
gonna still call
second
myself-
kid?
It still feels new to me.
It's the
Like, I
second
will
kid,
say
right?
that.
Like you have the second
I'm
kid.
new to having 2 kids.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're doing. You're like, I'm still a rookie. Is that so you're
Yeah.
more like, is that so you can get away with the mistakes? Like you like make a mistake and you're like, oh, I'm sorry. It's my new kid. I don't
It's
know.
new to me. It's really more just like to make
Yeah.
myself feel better. Like, hey,
Yeah.
it's okay. You're not going to get everything perfect. Stop looking at social media.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that. I didn't
Yeah,
know.
that's what I was like. I
that
won't
is
go
fine.
deep into it, but
No, I will talk about that, trust me. But
yeah.
so let's see. Well, so becoming moms, what's the share it. What was it like becoming moms? Like
Are we talking about like very beginning? No, like we're not gonna go that.
how
deep.
did
It
the
was fun,
husbands
but-
react? Okay, let me give you something to kind of play off of here, and you can go off it. What were the husbands' reactions?
Honestly, it was just pure shock on Dustin's end and my end too. Because like I remember, and I'll go a little TMI here, but like that particular day, I was like cramping a little bit, like I was due to have my period, and I was like, one of my coworkers had bought me pregnancy tests. She was like,
Nice.
she's like, oh, you'll need these, and I remember I took one at work because she's like, I bet you're pregnant, and I wasn't, so it was like a 2-pack, so I took the other one home, and like 3 weeks later, like a month later, I'm like supposed to get my period. I'm like, I'm cramping a little bit. Let me just take this. I'm gonna just take it. And so I took it, and it was like the digital one. So it's
Oh
pregnant.
gosh.
I
Yep.
actually filmed my reaction because something told me like just film your reaction. So I filmed my reaction, and like I'm just looking at this thing like there's no way. So I came out and I told Dustin, I'm like, I'm pregnant. And I do that all the time. Like I would just be like, I'm pregnant, just kidding. Like just to be, you know. So he looks at me, he's like, no, you're not. And I'm like, show him the thing.
Shut
And
up.
there was just like this awkward silence. Like we're just like, and I think I cried because I just didn't know what to think. Like we were not planning on having children. We wanted to be married at least a couple years. And so like there was like this, oh crap kind of moment. How many swear words do we get on this episode?
PG-13,
We're
right?
past
Or
we're
PG-13.
past the first like minute mark or whatever, so we're fine. So
There was like an oh shit moment. I was like, oh shit. like I didn't know what to think. Like I think I just went into shock really. And then I just made an appointment, and it was my first pregnancy. So I know that a lot of pregnancies, like a lot of women have miscarriages in like the very beginning. Like not a lot of women can say like, hey, you know, like this is my first pregnancy and carry it to term. Like it's very common for miscarriages to happen. And so I didn't want to like jump into getting too excited or whatever. And when I went to the OBGYN, like I think it was like the week after, I found out I was like 5 weeks pregnant. So it was really, really early.
Oh,
in
wow.
finding out I was pregnant. And then by week 6, I had like the full blown nausea, and I like wanted to die. I'm like, I hate this. I will never do this again. But
I was like, I think when you're saying like, Hannah, stop, like it would literally be me where I'm like, babes, I've had a day. I'm not in the mood for this game right now. Like,
yeah.
talk to me talk to me after dinner. Like, I'm not in the
Yeah.
mood right now, type of thing. But like, I feel like that's how it'd be. How was your hubby's reaction, Lesh?
Well, we were trying. We knew that because of my age, for people who don't know, Tom and I have an age difference of 6 years. So I'm 6 years older. Go me. And
I did not know
and
this.
I knew, yeah,
know that
and I knew
either.
that like technically speaking, they say that the older you get, the higher the risk of pregnancy and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, I do want to have 2, at least 2. So we got to get started as soon as we get married. And he was all on board with that. So we were always told, hey, it could probably take like 6 months to a year.
Mhm.
So we're like, okay, so then we'll start trying literally at the honeymoon, blah, blah, blah. We'll start trying. Um, little did we know, 1 month later, this is like my possibly TMI, but the day that TJ was conceived, I was in a pissy mood. I was like pissed off, and I was like, we were in like, but we still did it because I'm like, I'm ovulating.
You
I
got
have
that like
aggression. I'm
app
pent
down.
up.
Like the app says that we're ovulating.
So, but yeah, no, and then eventually, I was kind of anxious about the whole pregnancy thing, and I bought like a big old 100-pack, because people said like, oh, it's gonna take a while, so I bought like a
Mhm.
big pack of pregnancy tests.
Whoa, they
those
come in
little itty bitty
100
strips.
packs?
Yeah, they're like the little
Yeah.
itty bitty strips for
Oh,
people who are trying.
I get you. It's
Not
like
like
a
the
Yeah,
kit.
it's not like
ones, yeah.
it's not
It's a
like
kit,
the digital ones
okay.
and stuff a lot.
Gotcha.
So yeah, so I bought like those and plus the digital stuff. So when I did, every time I was like, okay, well, today my period's supposed to start. Let's see. So I would be that person. But yeah, I woke up super early and I was like, something feels like it felt weird, like it felt different that day. And I did the little strip test. Then I saw the little faint line and I was like, hold on. So then I went and grabbed the digital one because I'm like, okay, these are a little more reliable. And then poor Thomas at like 7:00 in the morning, the man had no idea what the heck was going on because I woke him up and I was like, and I had the pregnancy test there and he's like, huh? Huh? And he just smiled and like I was like, I don't think he fully
That's a lot of
comprehended
pee. I'm
what
impressed with
was
the amount
going
of
on.
pee. I'm impressed with the
Oh, no,
amount of pee you had.
You pee in a cup.
And then you
Oh.
like dip it.
And then you dip it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, dang, that's a lot of pee. Like I got
No,
two
no,
more to go.
I did the whole pee in a cup thing because I wasn't trusting myself with my aim in the morning. But yeah, that's how Tom, unfortunately, like it didn't really hit him. He was kind of like, waking up, but then later on he was just like really excited. And so we were excited about it. And it was similar to Hannah where I'm like, okay, hold on. Let's wait until like the whole 8-week appointment and stuff like that. And because there's always the risk of not being able to, hold the baby to full term. So, but yeah, no, we were both excited and it happened very shortly, a month after we got married, I was pregnant.
I'm one of those people where my reactions, like if you don't know me as a person, my reactions can come off negative.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'd be like, don't be surprised, pal. Don't be surprised if you say something and I'm just like, ah, shit, or well, shit, like don't be surprised, like, or I'm like, oh shit, like, don't be
Yeah.
surprised, like,
Tom's similar.
Listen,
Tom's
even
similar.
if like whether you're happy or nervous or whatever, I feel like oh shit is a valid
100%.
way to just be like, there's a baby coming. Like,
Oh shit, our lives
Yeah.
are changing.
yeah.
That's a
it's like, oh,
very valid. Oh shit.
I've come up with this whole thing because like I'm very much trying to be a planner in the world. Like trust me, Pao and I have had these discussions already, and it's like, okay, I'm one of those people where it's like I kind of want to know, like, okay, I want to be living somewhere, like I want to know where I'm going to be working, like am I there a good chance I'm retiring at this place, that kind of stuff, like I want to be kind of at least somewhat solidified in that whole thing before I attempt it or try it, because that stuff like worries me, where it's like, oh, like I don't want to be one of those ones that like, and no judgment to anyone that goes down whatever life path they go down. It's your life path, you work it with the options you have. But like I'm one of those people where it's like I don't want to be in a position where it's like, oh, now I have a kid coming, I have to go find a better paying job. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like those type
Yeah.
of things. Like I don't want to be in those positions where I have to make stressful decisions, because a baby's on the way. Because I'm
Right.
very much
Right.
a person where I would be like, oh shit, like we have a kid on the way. Like now I get into this mode where it's like, okay, I'm not gonna worry about myself anymore. I have other people to worry about. I do that with Pal a lot. Where I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, like what, I see to it that the decisions I make, and that was one of the hardest things about like a real long-term relationship where it's like the decisions I make now, I have to include my partner.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't be like, oh, I kind of want to go work and live in New York for a year. Like, let me go pack up. Let me see how I get there type of thing,
Yeah.
right? Like Pal has her job. She has, her career, like her licensing. Like, oh, she's have to go retest somewhere and get a new license in another state, that kind of stuff, which
Right.
I have to take that stuff
Mm-hmm.
into consideration now. I can't just be like, "Oh, sorry, babe, see you later." Like I can't do it
Right.
anymore. And the
I
same
got a great
applies to a
job. See ya.
baby. Yeah, it applies to a baby too, where it's like, "Oh crap, we have a
Yeah.
baby on the way." Like, okay, we're good. Like we're in this position where we're good. We both make decent money, that kind of stuff. All right, let's just start getting ready. I don't want to be like, "Oh crap, well we better find better paying jobs," or like, what are we gonna
Mm-hmm.
do? It's those type of things. And I was like, oh, I kind of want to go maybe buy a house first before we get into that. But trust me, we're screwed on that front. Leshkee, you are very, very lucky and very, very fortunate. And whatever lotto ticket you bought and played and whatever game you played, you did well played because
It was a lot. Honestly, this is funny. I always say this because, like, I was ready to get married at 18. Like, I was just like, oh, I want to find my
oh
love and
geez.
get married and have a family. I
Mm.
started saving up for a house when I was in high school. So, and I put it into a savings
Wow.
account that kept getting interest. So by the time, like, Tom and I, because it took so many years to find the one,
Mm-hmm.
I had a decent amount. And it also helped that my grandma left so much money for college. So I only had to pay for 1 full year of college, thanks
Wow.
I
to
see. You
like
were
loan.
just like, and congratulations because you just were
Yeah, that's
dealt a very
amazing.
good hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You played it smart too on your own part. Like you were dealt a good hand. You played it very smart on your part. Like I look at Pound, I look at it, we're like, babes, I don't know how to tell you this, babes. We're like fucked.
When you're in Cali, yeah, because
Well,
when
New
I was
York's
saving
not
up,
much
I was
different.
saving. Well, it's true. I was saving up for Pennsylvania, and I was like, oh, I could get a really nice house. Granted, this is a great house. I'm not like
Mm-hmm.
complaining, obviously, but I definitely like we have to move if we want to have another baby,
Right.
because this house wouldn't be it. So
Yeah.
that's where we're at right now. I mean, but at least we do
Mm-hmm.
have the house that we could sell.
Yeah. See, and then you take that and you go and move it on to the
Yeah.
next one. But like we're just like if we do it, I'm like, babes, if we do it, then we make it here. Like that's it. Like we're
Mm-hmm.
this is the one and done. Like that's how a lot of people do it in Cali now. It's one and done.
Mm-hmm.
There's no
It's not,
starter
yeah.
homes in California anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Back in the day, yeah, because my dad, that's where I was born in Cali.
Yeah.
And yeah, my parents had a starter home where they not really flipped it, but like it needed a lot of work. And
Mhm.
my dad just pretty much like, he didn't have YouTube at the time, but he had to kind of DIY a lot of things. And
Mhm.
nowadays, at least you do have a YouTube.
Yeah.
So you
And it
can like
makes it a
hopefully
lot easier.
DIY.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, if we do it and by good graces we do get like that lucky, it's one and done. One and done.
Something I will say though, Eric, is kind of like your worst case scenario and like kind of what you're talking about, like those were the circumstances that we've kind of were in and are
Right.
in. We are in a 1-bedroom apartment. You can see Bobby's crib back there. Dustin, at some point during my pregnancy, he lost his job, so there was a scramble. I work like I guess you could say a low paying job. Like it's not like I'm making great money, but I'm not making like $8 an hour, but like it's definitely not enough for cost of living like here. Like I would never
Right.
be able to live by myself. So this was a situation where you're saying like we never thought we'd be in this place. We wanted to do the whole get a house or get like a 2-bedroom apartment or at least set everything up, nest
Before, right.
properly so that by the time our child comes, like they are in like a better situation. So, but now we're in this place where it's like we have to make the best of what we have for him. And I think the best advice I could give, because like, sometimes you can't plan your pregnancy, just like me. Like it was just like, uh-oh, like Bobby was like an oopsie, like, oh, I got pregnant.
Right.
You just have to make the best of like
Roll with the
what you have
punches.
at that moment. And
Right.
it's hard sometimes. But there's never a perfect formula. I will
Oh
say
no,
that.
of
No.
course
Like,
not.
never a perfect formula.
I will say like your perseverance over the whole thing, because like you and Dustin had no choice. It's
Yeah,
like
we had
we're
no
keeping
choice.
this baby. Okay, then you have no choice but to make it work. And your perseverance and
Right.
everything, like I commend you for it. Because it's not
Oh, thank you.
it's not
It's so hard. It's so hard.
it's
Yeah.
not fucking easy,
No.
right? And
Mhm.
I'm not naive, and like of course, like I could plan everything to a T on paper, right? But
Mhm.
like, birth control is not 100%,
Right.
So there's
No, it's
always the
not.
thing where it's like, okay, there is a damn good option or not
Mhm.
option. There's a damn good chance that you'll walk in out this bathroom one of these days and be like,
Right.
it's coming, and I'm gonna be like,
Yeah.
oh, and there,
Oh
I
shit.
mean, realistic talk too. Like I'm 40,
Mhm.
I'm gonna be 41,
Mhm.
so like I've got to start if I'm gonna do this thing. Like I've got to start planning it now within the next couple years because one, they have stuff now, obviously. Like they have things out there for men and all that stuff. They have tools to help, with pregnancy or get, pregnant and all that kind of stuff. But like just me having energy to handle a child
Yes.
If
is
it
gonna
helps, my dad was 40 when he had me. So you are, I know you'll be good. Like,
yeah, and I do my best now a lot. I do a lot to take care of myself. I eat
Mhm.
better. I exercise
Yeah.
regularly and all stuff. Like I'm doing a lot to try to, because like I know a kid is not, they don't sit still, you
No.
know.
No.
Although I
No.
tell Pal all the time, I think, you know what? Like my life has been fairly rough over the years, right? Like I've overcome a
Mhm.
lot of stuff. I've had issues, I've had impacting death in my family and all this kind of stuff, right? A lot of stuff that's taken me years to shake off, a lot of trauma and all this kind of things. And I tell Pal, I'm like, you know what? I've had a fairly rough life. Things are a lot better now, by the way. Things are a lot better now that
Thankfully.
I've taken care of myself and I've, gone and worked out stuff. But like I was like, you know what, about maybe my saving grace is that the child we have will be one that just sits down, relaxes, and stays quiet and like does his thing. And like maybe that'll be my grace. That'll be my break. And I just
Listen,
get to
you
be a
never
loving,
know.
That will
I'll
be
get to be a
your
loving,
perfect.
endearing father and, do everything I can to make that kid's life enjoyable. And
Mhm.
so who knows? But you are right, Hannah. Like things don't always work the way you want them to. They don't. Um, but your
I'll go with
perseverance and
it.
all that stuff, like you showed incredible like resilience and like just the stuff that was thrown at you. But then again,
You
too,
know, it's I appreciate like the compliments I do. I will say, like on the other side, I feel like I literally just crawled through this whole experience. Like it was
It's a
like
different.
I guess in some ways, like I guess when you look at it, it's like, wow, Hannah's so strong that she was able to go through this. I don't feel like there was strength in it. I feel like it was just like trudging like through the mud. Like it was so difficult. Like this was by far the most difficult thing. And like what's weird, I'm curious, Leshkee, if you feel the same. Like people have kids all the time. And they always say like, "Oh, it's
Mm,
hard." And like you'll prepare yourself, like you'll watch the videos, you'll read the books, you'll read the articles. I don't think anyone can fully prepare you for anything. And I feel
no.
like I walked in to it with no information despite reading so much information about
I
motherhood.
think I overread. I think that was my
Yeah.
issue is I because like I'm a preparer, I'm the type
Mhm.
of person, my anxiety has to like overly prepare. And I think I overdid it to the point where I was like, I felt like I knew, but I had no freaking idea. There was
Mhm.
nothing out there that could prepare me for everything that has happened.
I
Mhm.
think
I didn't even have it that bad considering
I see. Okay,
it
so
was rough.
I see this a lot, right? Like because back
Mhm.
in pre-internet days, the internet is a whole different
Mhm.
story. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But like the internet's a whole different story in like how they talk about motherhood and stuff now. But like pre-internet days, you do the thing. You go to the library or you go to the bookstore, you read the books
Read the
and all
books.
this kind of stuff. But like aside like the science stuff of it, like your baby needs to get this nutrition or you need to eat this stuff while you're
Mhm.
pregnant, da 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 da
Ugh,
da, so your baby gets the correct
even
nutrition,
that was
etc.
stressful.
Right, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera. Aside from the science-based stuff that's, somewhat scientifically proven and accurate, the rest of it, it's all based like on those authors' opinions and experiences and all that stuff. That
Mhm.
kid, that author that wrote that book had that baby, and they're like, this is what you do. No, like
Yeah.
both you ladies have two completely different babies,
Yep.
and
Mhm.
they have different personalities, they have different ways they react to things, they have different, gears and ticks that make them move and work. And I just never understood because I had an uncle that was that way. They read the books down to the core, right? Again, 80s. They read the books down to the core, like da 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 da. And like their method of parenting was constant, like by the book. You could just tell.
Mm.
You know how you tell
Yeah.
how people
Yeah.
like raise their kids. It's like this constant by the book, step
Mm-hmm.
by step, like, oh, this scenario happened, we're gonna do this. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
tree. And
They pull
Yep.
the little baby guide.
yeah,
Something's going on.
yes, the cheat sheet, the flashcards, like pull the baby flash. Oh, my baby's crying and I just did this. What's this flashcard say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, I don't get it. And like, granted, my cousins come out a very intelligent man and, very intelligent, did well in school, all that kind of stuff, right? But like, socially, I think he's a little
Mm.
weird.
You know what's interesting though is like I work with children for a living. Like I've literally the age group I worked with right before I gave birth was I worked with 12 to 18-month-old children. And now that I'm back to work, I can't be in that room because Bobby's in that room, but I'm in the infant room. And I've worked in the infant room before. And so I have all of this experience working with babies and children, and I have the knowledge. But when it comes to like your own child, it is a completely different thing. You
Right.
like the amount of second guessing that you do. Like it's easy for a mother to come up with to me and say like, "Oh, my child is I'm trying to think, not walking yet, right?" So, just based on like my work, typically you don't see walking until 12 to 15 months, 16 months. You don't want it to go past 18. You want them to start walking before 18 months. So I have all this knowledge, right? Um and so I would just tell the mom, just keep working with them at home. But if they're not walking by the time they're 16 months, just go to the pediatrician, get them double checked and everything. But I would assure her you don't need to worry. Now, Bobby walked very early. But I remember when he turned like 12 months, I remember thinking in my head, what if he doesn't walk before 15 months? What am I going to do? On a logical sense, like I can comfort another mother and reassure her based on my own experience, like it's going to be okay. But when I watch my child and it's like, he's not taking his steps yet. Oh my gosh, what is he going to do? Like I'd have
You freak
so much
out.
anxiety. You freak
Yes.
Yeah.
out. And
It's
it's like,
such a different feeling.
it's so different. And I think a lot of it's like, you don't want to see your child, not that walking early or walking a little bit later is suffering by any means, but you don't want your child to like be behind because you don't want them to suffer in some type of way, like be the odd one
Right.
out, like be the child that's like not like everybody else, to a degree. And so like it is so listen, I tell this to like parents or not parents, but I tell this to like my other friends that are teachers. I'm like, listen, like we have a lot of knowledge at our tips, like fingertips, just because of how we work, but you don't understand until you
You're
have a
doing it
child.
yourself. Yeah, like you're
Yeah.
doing it
Mhm.
yourself. And it's
Yeah.
like, because that's okay. So to go with what Hannah's saying, like that is my biggest fear. Like I full disclosure right now, my biggest fear as a potential father, right, is I go through these 18 years thinking I'm the best father in the world and I did everything right, da 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 da, and then I find out, my son sat in therapy because he hates me, like those kind of things, and I'm just like, well, shit, But it's like those are like my biggest. But that's like the anxiety Hannah's talking about, where it's like it's my
Mhm.
child. Like, am I doing everything right? Like,
Mhm.
et cetera, et cetera. And it's just like I don't think because there's no book. Like there's books, but there's no like correct manual to
no-
any of it.
Right. There's no
Mhm.
guide to your own kid because it's not like
Right.
there's no one size fits all for kids.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, granted,
That's why one of those things I used to actually hate, like I follow a whole bunch of Instagram influencer stuff like that, like taking care of babies and like big little feelings,
Oh,
solid
that
star stuff
woman.
like that. Yeah. So like
Ugh.
initially I paid for something and then I come to like think to myself, I was like, why the hell did I just pay her to teach me something that might not even work for my kid? And like even though she says like, oh, you can reach out to me, blah, blah, we'll help you, blah blah blah.
You're
But I'm
talking
like,
about Kara, right?
yeah,
PCB?
yeah. Yeah. So even then, like even like big little feelings and stuff like that, they gatekeep stuff and they make you want to pay, which to me, like now that I'm a mom and like at first I was like, yeah, I'll go ahead and get some of this stuff and blah, 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 because I need the help. But then now that I like got the information, I'm like, this is so like generic information that they're charging over $100+ for. and it's not guaranteed to work because every kid is
Right.
different. So
It's
it's
the
like
same energy in streamer culture when we were dealing with streamer
stream
coaches.
coaches, 100%.
It's that.
Yep.
I feel like with these though, these types of groups, like no hate to TCB, like if you get that
If it worked
class,
for you,
like great,
fantastic.
like, but I almost bought Taking Car Babies, which is just for anyone listening, Taking Car Babies is she talks about sleep, like sleep is like the most frustrating thing with a baby. Let me
100%.
just
Yep.
say that, like buckle up and get ready for that. But I feel like a lot of these women that sell courses on how to teach your baby to self-soothe, or whether you want to do the cry it out method or you want to do the Ferber method, they all kind of come down to this place of desperation. Like you are so desperate in the moment that you are in right now. I was looking at the Taking Care of Baby class at like 4 a.m. when Bobby was first born,
Yeah.
because like I'm so sleep deprived and I'm trying to justify spending $200 and something for a course because I need sleep. I'm going insane. I was
Desperate,
looking at
yep.
another woman the other day who I was like, they're gatekeeping this information, which you could probably find online. But again, every baby's different. And she's talking about, because Bobby has trouble in his crib. And I feel like he's regressed ever since he started daycare. And I was like, maybe I just need to get a sleep trainer. Maybe I just need to get a sleep trainer. Maybe I need help. This woman wants to charge $600. And I'm like, I can't do that. Realistically, I can't
Right.
do
Yeah.
that. But gosh, I wish I had the money where I could, because I feel so helpless and I feel like
So
I'm
this is
missing
going
out
to
my
sound
child.
like, okay, this is going to sound like an insulting question, but don't be insulted by this question.
I will not.
Right. But did you try calling your mom and be like, hey, he's not sleeping. What did you do with me? Because realistically, remember, it's your genes, it's your personality. It's a lot of it's you in there.
So this is an interesting question. I'm curious if Leshkee gonna say the same thing, but I feel like boomer parents did not necessarily. One, they either don't remember. I feel like whenever I talk to my mom, she's like, I don't remember.
Very valid.
She's
Very,
like, I
very
don't remember.
possible. Right.
Like,
Like,
she, she's like, oh, you're a great kid. Like you didn't, like I think you just
Yeah.
slept. The pressures that boomer parents or even Gen X, they did not have the internet at their fingertips, and so
Mhm.
for a lot of them, they just made it work. And
Yeah.
I am envious of that, because they lived in this generation where it was like, you just do what you can. And like now there are all these rules with sleep. You cannot have them on their stomach when they're
Oh my God. Yeah.
before 6 months. Like you have to worry about sudden infant death syndrome. You have to learn about
oh my God.
positional asphyxiation. You can't have
Mhm.
blankets in the crib. You can't have pillows in the crib. You can't have stuffed animals in the crib. Like, and
Does he sleep on
literally-
cardboard? Like, what is the baby supposed
it's
to do?
literally it's just
The
a
mattress,
mattress,
that's it.
and that's it.
Can I feed him after
because-
midnight? Will he turn into gremlin if I feed him after midnight? Like,
And you know what the thing is? It does sound it's so much, and you think, well, how did I
It's
live?
so overwhelming. Right.
You know, there's pictures of me in my baby crib. There's like a bumper, and there's like 10 stuffed animals.
I was about
I'm like,
to say that.
I should have died. Like I should.
That's really, so it's the same situation. Like my mom was like, "Oh, well, then we just put rice cereal in your milk." I was like, "I'm not even supposed to put solids in like for a while." And she's like, "Well, a full stomach is what allowed you to sleep well and stuff like
Yeah.
that." Or like, then she's like, "Oh, you were cold, so I would put a blanket over you." And I'm like, "Well, I can't do that."
so it's interesting. Okay, so that's interesting. Like, I know we're we're on a mild tangent from what like this part is we're talking, but like this is interesting because again, these books are telling you to do all this stuff, right? None of the stuff is working. Mom
Yes.
tells you, hey, I just filled you up with warm milk and you doze right off. That's working. Man, well, okay, maybe. Oh, the book says not to do it. Well, you know what? Sometimes it's maybe just best to just close the book, push it over there, and then, give the kid the warm milk and see if he zonks out.
That's what I was going to
happened-
mention.
What happened with Bobby? He had like severe reflux to where I could not lay him flat on in the crib or the bassinet, because he'd wake up every like 30 minutes to an hour choking. Like he would literally just be like, and I couldn't leave him there. So at one point, very early in the newborn stage, just so that I could sleep, and so Dustin and I could sleep, I would sit myself up and he would fall asleep on my chest and I would fall asleep. Now, the mommy groups, if any, they'd come after me with the pitchfork.
Yeah,
Because it's
100%.
not safe. It's everyone would be like, oh my gosh, you're putting your child in danger. I understand that, but when you are so mentally like drained from sleep, and like you're watching your child, you're trying to put them in this crib and they just keep choking, you get to this point where it's like, forget it. I need to sleep. You need to sleep. And so for a long time, he slept on my chest. And so, and that reflex thing was so bad. Like, that was such a hard time for
Mm.
us. Like, we had to, like, I contact slept him for like the longest time, which is like part of the reason I have such a hard time with him being in the crib. But, you know, for the longest time, I wanted to just delete social media, especially
Mhm.
TikTok and Instagram, because everything that I was doing wrong. I used to have such guilt about holding him while he slept. And in my head, I'm thinking, I feel like I'm going to lose my mind if I don't get any sleep. So it came out of a place of necessity, you know? But everything
Desperation too.
online and all the moms would be like, well, you're a terrible mom. Your kid's going to die. You have survivor bias because your child lived through that. Like, my child didn't live through. And that's not to like, you know, put anyone down for like those experiences or anything, but like, it's so unique to every mother and every child. Like, it's not black and white at all by any means.
But that's also like what builds the anxiety, is because
Mhm.
you see these stories that people say, it's like, oh well, yeah, I was co-sleeping with my child, and unfortunately the baby died of the sudden infant death syndrome because it suffocated and stuff like that. So it's
Mhm.
like, because of all that in your head, you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this, but you're so desperate at the same time. You're like, but this is the only way he's sleeping if he's right next to me, but I don't want to take him out. It's just like, it's the whirlwind of anxiety that goes through your head with every little thing that you do is just
There's a baby
crazy.
in the
You can hear
background right
sorry.
now.
Yes, if you
Whose
hear
baby's in
TJ
the
crying,
background?
that
Is
would
it
be
TJ
mine.
or is it Bobby?
I was like,
That's TJ. We're trying to
Okay.
put him down for a nap.
Yeah. So yeah, because like when my cousins had kids, and like I would hold the baby just start crying, and then you know, like you sit there and you get freaked out because like, oh, the baby's crying. My mom was just like, they just cry sometimes. Like babies just cry sometimes. It could be
Yeah.
because you woke him up or whatever. He just don't want to be held right now. Like babies just cry sometimes. But like and again, I've become full disclosure, I've become kind of almost very anti-influencer over the past year and a half, because there's a lot of beef I have with it, right? But like again, for these, like I don't really engage much in this content because I don't have a need to at this point in time. But like a lot of it's the same. Like it's the same thing, like where it's just like they tell you all the specific stuff so you young mothers engage in it, or new mothers engage in it, and then when it doesn't work, you go and you make videos about how this plan that this influencer told you didn't work, and you gripe about that influencer. Well, guess what? You're still engaging with that influencer algorithm wise and still boosting what they're saying. So like it doesn't necessarily help.
Yeah. That's why I was
say,
really like against social media. Not at the like, now I'm like obviously accepting it now, and I'm very like, now I'm a little bit more aware, just to be like, listen, what works for one won't work for all, and it's okay.
Right. We're going to go on to
but
that in a minute
back
here.
in the
Like we're going to
beginning,
go
it
into that
was,
segment. Yeah, we're going to get into that segment in a second, because that goes into something we're going to talk about. But like, okay, so like, yes, babies, you know, hard time to sleep, but like, yes, you ladies have come through a lot, you know, one's had completely different experience versus the other, and you know, you're both doing, you know, the best you can, and you both have gorgeous kids, we'll tell you that now.
Thank you.
They
like
are
get
pretty
beautiful
cute.
babies. Pal's like,
you.
look at the trip to Disney, da, 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 da. And I'm like, that's fucking adorable. You know,
so cute.
My blue-eyed baby, and I don't even have blue eyes. People are like, is that your kid? Yes it is.
yeah.
It's like Bobby's blonde.
Genetically perfect children.
They're like,
you
where's
know?
the blonde hair come from? I'm like,
Recessive genes.
Yeah. But so the good stuff, like, yes, babies have hard time sleeping, but like, what's the good stuff you're getting out of this? Like what's the good stuff you're getting out of motherhood? And don't give me the you know, and it's such a rewarding joy that like there's a million podcasts saying that stuff, but like, what's the good legitimate stuff? Like, what does it do like for you, like serotonin wise? Like, what's it do for you being moms? Like, what do you get to do that? You know,
I mean, for me, it's at least for me, I'm always saying that like I'm creating the good in the world, and seeing my child kind of like learn things has been so rewarding. Like it's so cool to see, like you put a set of blocks with the little shapeshifter here. So like in the beginning, of course, he would just grab everything, put it in his mouth, not know what the heck to do with it. But now, like months later, he's figuring out that the square goes where the square goes, the circle goes where the circle goes. And to me,
Right.
that is like, it's a rewarding. And it's one of those things where like just seeing it, I'm like, holy heck, I'm helping create a future human that will hopefully treat people with respect and, you know, be a good influence in the world.
Right.
Like that's what I feel to me. And like just seeing him progress and grow and smile, and his smile is infectious. Like you could be in the worst mood, but that kid will smile even after spitting up on you. And I can't
Yeah,
help
like,
but
sorry.
smile too. Yeah.
Rough night. Sorry.
Yeah, rough night, sorry. But oh, you're
Yeah.
so cute. I don't know,
Yeah.
but that to me is like I just seeing him grow and like turn into a little tiny human.
Yeah.
It's-
What are you getting, Hannah? Like, what are you getting out of this whole thing?
I would say in some way there's to view the world in the eyes of a child is so, I mean, we say rewarding, like that's like the buzzword here,
It
but
is
like
the buzzword, but it is.
but it's true. Like, you know how like as you get older the magic of Christmas just kind of goes away. Like, you know, Bobby was 8 months by the time Christmas kind of rolled around, and so like he doesn't have like a full understanding of it and everything, but to just know that like, oh, we get to do this and we get to experience it, like the magic of it again, you know, like he's gonna
Traditions.
get to a point where like he's gonna wait for Santa, you know, and we get to do the cookies and the we look forward to like taking him to Disney World one day, seeing like his reaction to things that bring him so much joy, like, you know, because as you grow up you kind of become very like melancholy about life and just, you know, like what am
Eat,
I
sleep,
doing
drink,
here?
work.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
gotta pay my taxes and die, like what's the point, you know? But then you see
Yeah.
like a child that's so enamored with the world around him, and you know, like he's in his high phase, so like in the sense that we'll go somewhere and he'll be like, hi, hi. So we went to go pick up donuts today, and like there was this old man standing behind us, and Bobby just looked at him and was like, hi. And everybody, I get pissed if someone doesn't say hi back to them. I was like, say hi to my kid. But
Mama
like,
bear.
Yeah.
I'm like, he just spoke to you. But like, and then we went to the grocery, and every time someone walked by, hi. And everyone was just like, oh, you're so sweet. Hello. And then he also does bye bye. So he'll go bye bye. And
Oh my gosh, I would
it's
melt.
so cute. And just like to see like kids truly have so much like grace and love within themselves. Like you want to have that. Like it's so innocent and wonderful to see. So that is just so beautiful as a parent. Like
Agreed.
to see that and to experience it. Like really it's magical. And for a long time before I had kids, I was that person that was like, why would you want to take your kid to Disney World if they're not even going to remember it? I was always like, no, y'all got just need to go by yourself. And then after having Bobby, like, because Dustin and I were
You
talking about
remember it.
maybe, yeah, you remember it. And like Dustin and I were talking about maybe going to Disney World while Leshkee
Yeah.
and Tom were there. We weren't able to make it work, but like when you have a kid, it's so different. Like to just see the joy on their face, like even if they don't fully understand, even if they're not going to remember, you're going to remember, and that's all that matters. So
Yes.
Small side
it's
story
magical.
here.
Yeah.
Small side story here while you're on the topic of Disneyland, you know, the first time. So the first experience of Disneyland that I remember, all right. So my mom showed me Pinocchio a lot when I was a kid.
hmm
And trust me, with this one, you'll get the kick out of this in a minute. So Joey showed me Pinocchio when I was a kid, right? I was scared to shit of the whale. Like, what is it? Monstro the whale, right? I'm scared to
Monstro,
shit of
yeah.
Monstro the whale, right? Because he swallows Pinocchio and Geppetto and all that stuff. And it's like traumatizing as a kid, right? So I go to Disneyland and I'm a little kid. Guess where mom decides to take me?
Oh no.
She's like, we're going to go on Pinocchio. And I'm like, okay. And then we get on Pinocchio, right? Like, or I'm like excited, like, yay, Pinocchio, da 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 da, right?
Yeah.
And we get on Pinocchio, and then you're riding Pinocchio. I don't know if the one in Florida is any different or whatever, but the one in California,
Texas.
you're going on this. I think it's I forget what you're on. It's a boat or something, and you're going through this whole thing. And then guess what? You get swallowed by Monstro the whale. I'm crying.
Oh no.
I'm like
Poor Eric.
crying, right? And
Yeah.
mom's like, oh man, God, like she didn't know what to do, right? I'm like ruining
Yeah.
like these parents like Disney life, right? Because I'm crying and screaming, right? And then
Ruining the expectations.
and then again, another side fact here for those I don't know, if you ever go, Eric, what's your favorite Disney character ever? Is Jiminy Cricket. So we come out of Monster of the Whale or whatever, right? And then it's all like happy and serene, and you're like, like, yay, you're okay, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then mom's like, look, there's Jiminy Cricket, and like he's spinning around like on a little thing as you like go around him. And then I
Yeah.
just shut up because it's Jiminy Cricket, right? So 2 years ago, I got a very generous bonus from work. So Christmas that year, we took mom to Disneyland.
I remember
And I'm like, all right, okay, guess what? We're gonna go on Pinocchio. Mom gets on Pinocchio, and then she sees it, and they like not only just the monster of the way, but the way the kid turns into a donkey and all this kind of stuff, and they play scary music. Mom's like, you know what? This might have been a lot for you when you were a kid. And I'm like, no shit. Like,
you realize like after the fact, you're like, damn.
right. But it does come to the point here where it's like you as mothers are going to make dumb decisions and it's going to affect your kid or whatever. Right. And then you realize like, oh yeah, that was kind of rough. Like
laugh about it later.
Yeah, laugh about it. Like I shouldn't have done that. Right. But like, that's one of those things was like, even Pal was like, yeah, this might be traumatizing for a kid, depending on your kid's personality. Right. So Mom and I finally reached peace on the Pinocchio scenario.
You got the closure that you needed.
And so that's how many years it takes? Oh no.
It also took a $400-$500 trip to Disneyland. The therapist would have cost the same price. But
I know,
honestly, yes.
A therapy, dude.
I got a trip to Disneyland out of it. But like, yeah, like we came to terms with each other on the Pinocchio thing, and Mom's like, you know what, this might have been a little rough, right?
I will say I was worried about the Frozen Ever After ride in Epcot because it was Maelstrom, I think, and it's still Maelstrom. Or no, it's not in Disneyland. Never mind.
Yeah.
But like at first, I was like, okay, so this boat goes backwards, and you're gonna go down a hill, and like I don't know how TJ's gonna react. This child literally sat there and was like.
Nice.
And here I'm like, woo, and he's just sitting there like, okay. I'm like, all right. So it was just mama freaking out over nothing.
Yeah.
Every kid's different.
Every kid.
He was unfazed.
If we get to it, like I will in a year or two I want to hear some mommy blunders like in a year or two on another pod, like because my mom has a couple. Of them,
100%.
Trust me, she's got a couple of them. There's the story of Poltergeist. You ever watch Poltergeist?
Yeah.
Yeah,
How old were you, Eric?
I was like, as an adult,
maybe 5, 6 years old, right?
Oh.
So we watch Poltergeist. Mom lets me watch Poltergeist. God knows why, right? Like, I think maybe because I was into Ghostbusters. Like, I loved Ghostbusters at that age. Maybe
so
Mom
a
thought,
spooky movie.
Yeah, maybe
Ghosts.
Mom thought, yeah, maybe Mom. I can see the train of thinking, right? Like, maybe I can see the train of thinking. But she's like, oh, he likes Ghostbusters. Maybe Poltergeist will work, right? So you get to the part with the clown. The clown attacks the kid under the bed type of thing, right? Traumatized, like I'm freaked, right? Mom comes home like a week later and she's like, look what your grandpa gave you. And she pulls out the freakiest, ugliest clown that looks like this one in the movie. And she's like, look how cute it is. And that was another one where I went to and I was like, what the fuck were you thinking? Like, your grandpa gave it to you. I'm like, grandpa can give me 100 gold bars, but if it traumatizes me, like, it's probably not a smart thing to give me. It ain't worth it. Yeah, it ain't worth it. But again,
I will say, mom brain is super strong. There's some times where I do things and I'm like, why the heck did I do that? And I'm like, hopefully my child's okay. Like, oops.
Yeah, and you're gonna. Now, my baby brother, who's now 33. 34. Yeah, he's still a baby, right? My baby brother. He didn't get that same kind of stuff, right? So I think mom might have learned her lesson the second time around. It was like, yeah, but I don't do that, I think
that's what they say. You learn with the first. Number two is
mom
like
was more careful with my brother than me. But anyway, back to the joys of. But that was a side tangent there. Yes, the Pinocchio ride. But that's not much joy there. But so yeah, like the one thing I think that would excite me as a parent is like getting to relive childhood all over again. I'm
Mhm.
kind of getting to do it now because now I have friends that have kids. Um,
Right.
Mhm.
and it's like I get to kind of play Uncle Eric a little bit. It's like I got to go buy Switch games for my friends' kids for their Christmas. It's like, oh,
Oh,
That's
sweet, I
fun.
that's
get
so
to go buy
cute.
Nintendo shit for someone
Yeah.
other than myself. Or I get to give all these cars away. My buddy who has the 2-year-old, we went and like bought him like this big old plush Incredible Hulk. But it's like one of those sleepy ones. They have them at Target. It's like a sleeping Hulk, like he's like all cute and
Mhm.
sleepy looking, and he lays on his tummy or whatever. He sends me videos like on a regular basis of him, like the kid talking to the Hulk, playing with the Hulk, and
Mm.
all this kind of stuff. It's
That's
like
so
that's
cute.
the kind of like
That's
rewarding stuff
cute.
I get out of it. It's like, or he's like, oh hey, look, he's watching Marvel stuff now, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome, or like he gets into like Ninja
Mhm.
Turtles. Like I love Ninja Turtles growing up. I still do to this day.
Right.
Where it's like, oh, now I get to go like buy this stuff for a kid that's actually going to
Just
like,
wait till it's yours, because like I also had a whole bunch of friends that had kids way before me and all that fun stuff, and like yeah, I also got that joy. I'm like, oh look, they're playing with the toy you got, and I'm like oh my gosh, and then like
Yeah.
when it's your kid, you like multiply that by like 20. Although now don't buy toys for your kids, because everybody and their mothers is gonna buy like 50,000 toys for your kid. But
Mhm.
like
right,
seeing your own child like the things that you like, oh my god, that there's like I don't even know how to like explain it. It's just such a great feeling. Like seeing TJ love Mickey as much as I do. Granted, obviously, like I plastered his room with Mickey and stuff like that, and I'm reading Mickey books. But like to
Mhm.
see him actually enjoy it, oh my god.
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's the idea of getting to relive. Like that's the thing I look forward to most is the idea of
Right.
getting to relive
Reliving it.
childhood over
Mm-hmm.
again through my child.
Yeah.
Now, is he going to
Yes.
like the same stuff I do? Probably not. Or all the same things. Probably not. Etc. But there is that joy of like getting like like, oh, my kid wants a bike. Like, oh,
Mhm.
my kid gets the biggest thing. My dad gave me a lot when I was a kid. He gave me everything humanly possible, right? Everything I
That's
asked
right.
for, I pretty much got for as a kid. He worked very, very hard. But there was the one thing I never got, and that was the Tom and Dustin will know what I'm talking about. And yes, maybe Leshkee and Hannah too, but like the GT bicycle. If you grew up in the 90s, the bike to
Mhm.
have was the GT BMX bike. And I asked dad for
Mhm.
years, like, I want a GT. I want a GT because all my
Mhm.
friends had one, right? Dad's like, oh, okay. He would take me to the bike store to look at them and stuff. Um, they were $600 back then in the 90s. I ran an
That's a lot.
inflation
1,200 now.
I ran an inflation calculator, and that is equivalent to about $1,000 to 1,100
Yeah.
bucks.
That's
Yeah.
what I
And now
figured.
I realize, okay, dad could not afford the bike.
Mhm.
That's why I never got the bike. Kyle doesn't know that I've been putting money away because I want the bike. I don't even know if GTs are made anymore, to be honest. But like, I want the bike, So it's like,
Mhm.
well, make sure the kid gets the bike, But like, that was the one thing I always wanted, like as a kid, like, a GT bike, and I never got one. Now I know why, because just the cost of one was, and there's a risk associated with it too. Like, oh, they're gonna steal this thing,
Yeah. You
So
know what,
Yeah.
Dustin and I, what we ended up doing was we we both collect Pokemon cards. And so Pokemon released a new set. It's called Pokemon 151, and it's like new cards of like the original 151 Pokemon back from like when we were kids. And so Dustin and I, we both master set it. Like we both have every single card. I do and Dustin does. And so we're using these as like investments to give to Bobby one day when he's older
yeah,
so that he can sell it or he can keep it. Um but even just to see Bobby like take an interest in like look at the cards, or even like Pikachu, like he knows what Pikachu is. He'll go chew, chew. He has a little Pikachu plushie. He'll carry it
That's
around. He'll
so
be like
cute.
chew, and then like he'll see the Pokeball and he'll be like ball. Just even to see that, like it's so magical, and to be able to collect Pokemon cards and know that like one day he's probably gonna grow up and like want to
Inherit.
collect with us.
Yeah.
It's so like just it's so healing too. Like
Yes.
because I feel like I see this a lot with like millennial parents versus like boomer parents, and it's not to throw any of like my parents under the bus or anything, but I genuinely don't feel like parents back at the time really took a special interest in like the things that their children enjoyed. Like, did you ever grow up and you had like a specific obsession with something? Like maybe you loved Pokemon or you loved video games and your parents kind of just brushed it off as like, oh, that's just something that they enjoy. Like they didn't take care to like
That or they
learn the
discouraged it.
details of everything. Like I'm excited for Bobby to grow up and maybe he's gonna like a certain show or a certain superhero or a certain video game. And I want to be the kind of parent that sits with him and talks to him about him and plays a game with him or reads a book with him. And so we have those conversations because I don't know, it's just fun to me. And I see a lot of millennial parents do it. You see them play D&D campaign. There's like a guy on TikTok who does D&D campaigns
I
with his
saw
like
that
two
guy.
little
That's
daughters.
amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing.
So cute.
And like his
So
daughters
cute.
are so young and they like name their characters like Rainbow Sparkle or something and he like narrates a story for them. And it's just so amazing to see parents like actively do these things with their children.
Agreed. I love
So
it.
I think
Let
an
them pick a
interesting
hobby
point.
too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh no, for sure. That's kind of like where my best friend since high school has been with his kids. I'm starting to get more
Mhm.
involved in there now. In their
Mhm.
lives and stuff, like, because I think I talked to Hannah about this, like, I was going through a lot of stuff, and I was working on myself, and now like I'm out there, like, I'm trying to make more of an effort to play that Uncle
Mhm.
Eric part, because that's my best friend's kids. We
Right.
grew up together as now he has his own kids, so like it's like I'm trying to work on that stuff, and he's talking a lot about like their interests and like what they're into and all that stuff, and like in my head I'm just kind of thinking of ways like I can enrich that kid's stuff. But to go with Hannah was saying is like our parents and boomer parents, I think part of it too, one, boomer parents kind of like go to this thing where it's like, well, this is the stuff I did as a kid, here you go,
Yes.
kind of thing.
Mhm.
But then, not to discredit or the advantage that millennial kids have or millennial parents now have is that the stuff that millennials grew up on is now being rebooted for younger generations, which a lot of
Mhm.
boomer parents did not have,
Yeah.
which
True.
that's a a huge thing. So it's like now, like I'd see like a lot of the comic books and stuff, like I'm hoping the kid, if I have the kid, he likes Spider-Man or whatever, or girl, if she likes Spider-Man or
Mhm.
X-Men or whatever, like there's literally going to be a box of X-Men, like oh, I like
Yeah.
Spider-Man, or we have a daughter, I love Spider-Gwen, or well, pal can whip the book out and be like, this is the first time the world ever saw Spider-Gwen,
Mhm.
in 20 30 years ago. And it's like those kind of things, or it's like Ninja Turtles. When you say like the whole, parents don't necessarily get invested in things, my mom was very different. My mom was very invested in the stuff I was growing up.
Oh, that's
She
good.
made a lot of effort to go through those things. Like I loved Ghostbusters. Every time there were Ghostbuster toys that come out, she would go and get them.
Mhm.
A couple years back, they reissued like the original 80s Ghostbuster toys, like in the original packaging and stuff.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mom got them up for me for my birthday on Amazon, and they shipped them to her house. When she opened the Amazon
Oh.
box, she said she cried because it
Mm.
brought a lot of
Aw.
those. It brought a lot
Brought
of those
back.
memories of her taking me, Kmart back in the day.
Yeah.
Those that remember Kmart.
Yay. Oh, rest in
Okay,
peace,
Yeah,
Mark. Oh
like
my God.
a lot of those kind of memories, like taking me
KB
to
Toys.
yeah, Toys R Us, KB Toys, like taking me back,
Mhm.
like to the toy store back in those days, and me yanking the thing off the shelf, and it brings
I
like a
will
lot.
say, mentioning Toys R Us and KB Toys, I'm like actually kind of sad that like
It's very
I know.
fucking sad.
it doesn't exist anymore. Because I'm like, I
Oh.
always wanted to give my kid like the book, the big book that you would like circle things that you
Circle for the
want.
holidays.
There's
Yeah. And now
I
they like
don't
don't do that.
I don't know if it's still up, but I will get the link to you girls. There is a link that has all the old like Sears catalogs, JC Penney catalog, the Christmas ones, the
Oh.
wish books and stuff. Like there's a link that
Yeah.
has them all scanned. I'll get it to you.
I love the wish books. Yeah, please,
Yeah.
because that like would bring me back. Because I used to be that person who'd be like, I want this, and obviously I wouldn't get everything, but
Right.
Right.
the joy of like being able to circle, like, look at this cool toy and this, and
Mhm.
But yeah, it's
Now
like
they're even
stuff like
cooler.
that where like she cried and she was like, oh, that brought back a lot of memories, because she used to like take me to Kmart and I would run down the aisle and go grab the thing off the peg or whatever,
Yeah.
like it's those kind of things.
Aw.
And I hope I do get those moments where it's like, I would be incredibly sad if my kid's excitement comes in an Amazon box,
Yeah,
to my
that's-
house.
It's just
Yeah.
hard. Right now, I think Target and like Walmart are the places to go. Like,
Yeah,
I really
it
wish I
sucks.
still had the dedicated toy stores, but
And like
as
toys
long
aren't
as the
really
stores
meant for
don't go
kids
away,
anymore.
please.
The toys aren't even really
Right.
meant for kids anymore. It's like grown adult men like me that are buying this stuff, you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, those kind of joys. How about some milestones? You got milestones of both TJ and Bobby that have hit. Both are walking now, right?
Both are
That's
walking.
that's
Yeah.
that's TJ's biggest milestone right now is he's walking and opening cabinets and
Oh, the cabinet opening is driving me insane.
Are you doing the whole
Like,
thing where you like secure them with the plastic zipper
I
thing?
I was not going to because I said like, oh, I don't want to install magnets. I don't want to do any of that hardware
Same.
stuff because it's such a pain in the butt for us to even have to open it. So I was like,
Yes.
I'm just going to teach him to not. It's not going well.
My dad would
We
have been
bought
like,
some, but they're like the ones we got are like weird to install, and we rent. So like there's some limitations to what
The
like we can
yeah, the
do.
renting.
So right now, like I told Dustin, I was like, it might be just a little bit of a blessing that we're in a 1-bedroom apartment because I cannot even imagine trying to baby proof a house. I don't know how you're doing it, Lesh,
Confine him
like,
in a room. I actually literally we have like a big playpen because I'm like, ugh.
we just got
There's
rid of our
too
playpen
much.
because he was over it. So like he walks in the living room and in here, but like the one place he always goes to is the kitchen. So like Eric's been to our place. It's like a little bit of an open area, and so
yeah.
you just hear the cabinet opening, and like I have to get up because he doesn't listen. And like he's 13 months, so I'm like
Right.
I have to walk over there, and like at one point bleach, and I'm like, we do not touch the bottle of bleach. Like, please.
It takes like people weren't kidding. Like it takes 2 seconds. I'm like, yeah, it does. I turn around for
Yeah.
2 seconds and there he
Go
is.
ahead. I would be like, go ahead, son. Stick the fork in the outlet. See what
That's the
happens.
Hispanic way. That's
Yeah.
how like my mom would be like, don't do that or you're gonna get hit. Don't do that, you're gonna get hurt. And then you get hurt. It's like, I told you. Versus like, are you okay? It's I told you.
Yeah, the kid gets zapped, and then he never does it again because he learned like that sucked. I don't want to do that. Like, yeah, it's those kind of things. That's how I would be. See, the mommy books tell you to go and like Fort Knox your cookie cabinet,
Yeah.
and it's just like, just
I
And
will
that
say, I don't know,
alone was
Hannah, do you have like
anxiety-inducing.
little like knobs on your cabinets or is it like the handles?
They're like little knobs, so he just like pulls it open. Like
My mom at my parents' house, because obviously she wasn't fully baby proof, so she
Mm.
just grabbed like hair ties and put the knobs next to the cabinets that were
Oh,
together.
that'll
And
work.
that worked.
that's a good idea.
And I was like, that saves so much money.
Yeah.
Grab a
You
rubber
go to,
band
like-
or like hair ties and that's
yeah,
it.
you can go get like a pack of hairbands at Dollar Tree, right? Like for
Yeah.
a buck 50, whatever it is now, and get like 100 of them. Just wrap them.
Rather than
But-
$20 a lock.
Yeah, that's
real.
ridiculous. And like again, that's a
And-
market where they're like, oh, moms
Baby
don't
tax.
wanna. Yeah, like baby tax. Oh, you're a new mom, you're gonna pay.
You know what the worst thing though is, like, for the longest time I used to be like, if I had friends that had babies, and I'd be like, oh, do you want to go out or do you want them to come over here? Like, and they're like, no, like, they'd be worried about nap time or like a matter of a place being baby proofed. And for a long time, I'm like, just bring your kid, like it's fine.
We'll watch them.
No, what it's like, I bring Bobby to my parents every weekend. It's so that I get to see my parents, they get to spend time with him. It is stressful because it's not baby proof. Like, Bobby's running around the place. Like the other day he picked up like this like ceramic jug and it had like a pair of scissors in it. And I was like, no! Like, it's so stressful to
This
bring your child
is-
anywhere that's not baby proofed.
Right,
And
but
I have
think
to keep
about
telling
it.
myself it's a small time in his life. Like, he's
Yes,
gonna get to a point where I
he's
don't have to
gonna
do
get
it, but
old
it
enough,
seems so
right.
long. I'm like,
But
oh
think
my God,
about
I'm
it.
going
Think about it
crazy.
though. When you were a kid, the house was probably not baby proofed. Like
No.
No.
my mom probably put that crap on the cabinets and all that kind of stuff. Found out it didn't work all that well, and then just took them off. You know, like it's those kind of things where it's
That's what I keep telling myself. I'm like, I turned out okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
I
I'm
like to think I
fine.
turned out okay.
Like I'm fine. Yeah, I have a busted tooth here. I have a crooked tooth here from
I have a
stupid stuff I did.
scar.
Yeah, like I have a busted scar on my knee. Like it's okay, but I'm alive. I function. I could talk about my friends and their kids. But yeah, like they probably didn't do all that stuff. Like it's it's
No.
okay. Yes, the kid's gonna yank a jug with a pair of scissors out in the end. But guess what? He's gonna go to school and they're gonna give him scissors. You
I
know.
know. Like,
The worst, I think my mom, because I asked my mom, I was like, Mom, was I a bad kid? And she's like, the worst you did was you go through my makeup and I put makeup powder all over myself, and there's actually a video of me, we call it Coke Baby, because I literally just have white powder all over my face. And she's like, that's like the worst thing you did. I was like, okay, well then hopefully my kid will I'm okay with him putting powder all over his face.
Right. Like,
That's so funny.
I was a worse kid as I became a teenager. When I became a teenager, it was all downhill.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
No way.
I was a horrible kid, you know.
My mom
But
used to say, the kid you were is the kid you're gonna be, or the kid you're gonna raise. The kid you were is the kid you're gonna raise.
oh, don't say that.
Yeah.
God, don't say that.
Okay,
Hopefully, it's
so-
more Pow's a
I could kind of see
Pow's
it
a saint.
with TJ. TJ's not good with taking medicine. I hated taking liquid medicine with a passion.
gag.
Like, yeah, I always gagged. My parents would have to literally tie me down and hold me down. And TJ's like, what, 13 months, and we're giving him amoxicillin, which is like the, disgusting,
or
nasty
whatever.
white stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Oh no,
is just
that's what is it? The
antibiotics
antibiotic.
for his
Yeah,
ear
yeah.
infection.
Oh,
And I've literally had to hold him down, and I'm like, oh my God, this is my karma.
have you put? This is more for Hannah, but Hannah, have you? Before we move on, Hannah, have you put baby records on the record player yet? Like, have you put like
Baby
Dis-
records, like
yeah, like Disney
stuff for
soundtracks
Bobby?
and all that? Yeah.
No, not yet. He's listened to like my Taylor Swift records, but like not.
Oh,
we
so
haven't gotten-
he's in
like,
tortured
kid
poet
specific.
department. That's what he's listening
I haven't
to
gotten
now.
that one yet, but like, but
Um,
during Christmas time we use that thing like crazy during the holidays. That thing gets like used and abused.
Oh, I'm glad.
So like, yeah. So he listens to like a lot of Christmas Elvis, like over and over again. Like
Aw.
it's, I guess I like never thought to buy records for him. I don't know why. Like I just never like I just wasn't thinking about it because I don't like to. Remember I told you I don't like to buy a lot of stuff.
Right,
So
right.
if I'm gonna buy something for the record player, like it has to be something that either has some kind of meaning to me or like a
Yeah.
deep kind of like feeling with it, Otherwise, I'm just gonna buy all the Disney soundtracks and like
You're gonna go
Yeah.
into a
Maybe
rabbit
he'll
hole
hunt
of-
down. Maybe he'll hunt down Elvis Christmas like in 20, 30 years, right? Because that's what
well, we
Dustin
have the Elvis
did.
Christmas.
sentimental.
No,
that'll,
but,
that'll
like,
mean something to him in the
Dustin
wanted
future.
Yeah,
Core memory.
Yeah,
Dustin wanted it.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think he
yeah,
said
that'd be
he
good.
listened.
So
Yeah, right. He
that's
said he
what
listened to
his
it,
mom played when he was
Yeah.
little during
Yeah.
Christmas time.
and
So
it's
now it's gonna be- oh, it's-
core memories, like Leshkee said, core memories.
memories, yeah.
My mom played country music when I was like, a tween, 10 all the way up until high school.
Mhm.
Like she played country music constantly. I hated it. I was like, I don't like this. Stop, right? And then
Mhm.
slowly, like as I got into late high school and like early college and stuff like that, and I started playing guitar a lot more, and I started, trying to make up songs and things like that, I realized all of my playing has hints of country like melody and like nuances in it.
Mhm.
I just realized all that stuff.
I better be careful what I play around TJ. I made a joke of like, so there's a Puerto Rican artist, Bad Bunny, which I'm sure some people have heard of Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like my mom would be like, "Oh, are you playing classical music?" and blah blah. And when he was like, when I was pregnant with him, I'm like, "No, I'm not doing that. I'm playing Bad Bunny." And my mom would be so pissed. So that was like our running joke, is like, "Oh, this
Yeah.
is TJ's song." It's, it's such a terrible like lyric wise. I'm like, "Oh man." When he gets older, and like I'm joking around about this now, but like I really don't want him to be going around singing this
Yeah.
song. But
My
hey.
dad was way better about, like, my dad would always play me like country, like not country, but classic rock and stuff on the way to school and thing. He always took me to school in the morning, played classic rock and everything, and like I got really attached to that. But years later, the country stuff started slowly creeping into my
'Cause
like
you-
repertoire and living. I'm
you-
like,
Yeah.
Right. That's
Wait
so
a minute.
cool.
because it's like stuff I
Oh,
would
God, I gotta be
remember,
careful.
like
I'm influencing my child as of now.
like I would remember like the chugs that it sounds like a train, which a lot of country
Right.
music, like melody and rhythm stuff, sounds like a train. It's like chugging along. But so yeah, along with the good, of course, comes the bad stuff that happened. Both you ladies, I'll let you share it, but full disclosure, both you ladies had a hard time, right? If I'm like a
Yeah.
hard time.
Oh, yeah.
Scary on some fronts, especially like Hannah. Like I was like, "Girl, you okay?" And those
Yeah.
kind of things.
And
So
I'm
like,
gonna be fully transparent. So like this is
Yeah,
just kind of
same.
like a trigger warning. to
so let's
people.
before we get
Yes.
to let's spend a few minutes here and let's kind of talk about like what the rough stuff
Trigger
is and what
warnings.
kind of
Yep.
led you there.
Mm-hmm.
We'll start with
Well,
Hannah. Hannah had it really rough, so let's start there.
so I don't really even know to begin, but like I struggled really bad with postpartum depression, like very a little bit of anxiety, and then I had a lot of postpartum rage, which I was not fully aware that was a thing. It's not really talked about all that much, but like you can do a lot of research on it, and it while it's not like a full diagnosis, like postpartum rage falls under that category of postpartum depression. And so right off the beginning, I think like within the first like week, even the first few days of Bobby being born, like I had baby blues pretty badly, which is very normal. So if anyone listens to this, you're about to have a baby, it's very normal for you to have very sad feelings in the beginning because your hormones crash immediately after you have your baby. Like, and so I just remember feeling so down. Like I loved my son. I was like, I love him. He's wonderful. Like, but I feel so sad. Very normal, and they say that if it lasts longer than like a couple weeks that you really need to talk to your um OB about it. And so it's fun. I think you go back to your doctor, what, like, is it a week after you give birth? I know it's probably,
I was gonna say I was a C-section, so I had to go
yeah.
pretty soon, pretty early.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't know if it's the same for natural.
I feel like it was just probably within that first week or so. And it's this is not to place any kind of blame on my doctor by any means, but I just feel like the questions I ask don't really help
I hate
women.
them. I
Like, they're very
100%
like,
agree.
she's like, do you feel like sad or depressed? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And she's like, well, okay, if it lasts longer, then, you just call me. Like, not talking about the signs to look for, like, because for some women, they might not be depressed. They might not experience sadness, but they might have rage. Like they might just have
Oh, jeez.
like moments where they just
Mhm.
like go off the handle and they get super pissed off. Like that would fall under that, but like nobody knows to look for that. Nobody knows to talk about that. And so like I kind of left that appointment being like, okay, I guess like it's normal to feel sad, and if it gets worse, I'll go and talk to them. And um right away it was like, if you feel worse, like we can get you, your primary can prescribe you meds. So like she wasn't even offering solutions. She was just kind of like, well, if you're sad, go contact your primary doctor. And so when you're already dealing with like so much, like it's kind of like the last thing on your mind. Like I don't have time to call my primary doctor. Like I got a new baby and like I'm trying to
Right.
keep alive. You can come in. um I told Dustin that if he needs a,
Oh,
wait,
yeah, that's fine. Um,
I don't know if I imagined that knocking or not, but anyway.
you're tripping already.
I'm
There you
going
go.
crazy. Um, so it was just a hard time, and I remember like as the weeks had gone by, I was still fighting like this sadness, this depression. Like eventually, Dustin had to go back to work after a couple weeks, and so now I'm home by myself with this baby. I don't know what to do. I don't have people to talk to. And I will say one of the biggest things, there are two questions that kind of like I pose to people like right in the beginning if they decide they want to have kids. And this is like the first one. The second one I'll talk about later, but it's a village. And so this gets talked about all the time. Like you need a village, and like you're like, okay, but it is so true. I really feel like I would have just done so much better if I had a village. Now, I have my mom and dad here. My mom works, so she was not available to me right after I'd given birth. She wasn't able to take any time off. So even though she was like only 15 minutes away, like she was not able to come and help me. Like a lot of the friends that I had in my life, they work. I can't expect them to be around all the time. And so it's just having a group of people that that could be there for you during such a crazy time is so essential, because the mother needs to be healthy. Like, I'm sorry, and she needs to be
Right.
okay, because then she can
Mentally and
pour into her
physically.
child. Like
Mhm.
it was, I don't even know how to describe how bad it was, other than it was so bad. To the point where I remember, and I let me preface by saying like I'm okay now. Like I'm getting out of this, but like the worst moment for me was I went to take Bobby for a walk. And I remember walking, and I just remember feeling so depressed. Like, so I hated my life. I hated like just the loss of identity. I hated that, I wasn't sleeping. It was just so much like I remember I was walking and I remember I had this moment of like, if I can't do this by the time Bobby turns 1, I'm out. And when I say I'm out, like I was considering like suicide because that's how like bad it was. And so I called Dustin and I was like, dude, I can't do this anymore. Like it's just so hard. And it was really rough. Like it was like the hardest thing I'd ever gone through. And I'm sorry I'm crying. I knew that I was gonna do that as I
No,
talked about
that's
this,
It's
perfectly fine.
yeah.
but that's how deep that depression ran. Like you can't see your way out of it. You feel like you're losing your mind when you don't get sleep. Like
Mm.
when you don't have a support system, like it is so bad. But I'm okay now. Like I want to like preface this like I'm good
You're
now.
healing.
Like
You are
yeah, I'm
Yes.
healing. Like there are rough days, but like it's not anywhere near where it was. Like and I'm just glad that like at that moment like I was like I need to call Dustin because if I sit in this, I don't know if I'm making it out. And that scared me. And the only reason it really scared me is because I don't ever want my son to go without me because I know that he needs me, you know? And so I'm good now. I never even told Eric. Eric knew I was going through a hard time, but I don't think he knew
well,
to like,
I knew
yeah,
something was wrong because I didn't hear from
yeah,
you for days.
yeah.
Like, weeks, I think at one point. And
Mm,
I got a hold of Dustin and I was like, "Hey, is Hannah okay?" I've sent her messages. And I knew like, I knew you were doing your
yeah,
thing. But
yeah,
it's just like, because you had come and you said like, "Hey, I'm going to get ready to start kind of, trying this stuff again and start dabbling and I want to
yeah.
start kind of helping again." And I'm like,
Coming.
"Okay,
Yeah.
cool." And I would send Hannah messages and I wouldn't hear back. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, "Okay." And I was like, then I got a
That
hold of that. I'm
probably
like,
also added. I was gonna
Yeah.
say like I understand where Hannah was at because I was almost
you were
there and
going
then
through the same stuff. Like
yeah,
you.
but
Mm-hmm.
we had a different situation. I actually had my mom with me for a month
Right.
because she doesn't work, and it was when she left that shit started
The
to
crumbling
like
starts
sink in.
happening. Like you
The
lost a
crumbling
pillar.
started.
You lost a pillar.
Right. I lost the pillar, and that's really when things started going
Yeah.
super duper downhill for me. But I'll let Hannah finish up.
Yeah.
No,
Sorry.
no, no, you're good. Like
And I
it's
was like,
if
I was telling, and I'll finish the thought out here. It's like I was telling, like Hannah was telling me, I did not know that you got to that level.
mm-hmm.
I'm very, very fortunate that you got through it and you're much better
Yes.
place now. But I was like, Dustin, she messaged me like she was, good to start talking and doing the thing again. And then, but I haven't heard from her. He's like, "Hey, she's okay. She's just like sleep deprived and stuff like that." And then I was like, "Oh, okay." But then you started going through it again. And then we
Mm-hmm.
had that long conversation. And I think that's where I kind of stepped in. I said, "Hey, Hannah, you have to stop with these expectations of what these other people are telling you
That,
should
yep.
be as a mother.
Mm-hmm.
You need to fucking stop because this is destroying you." And
Yeah.
like, stop watching the social media crap, stop doing all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You need to stop and you need to raise your child the way you see fit. And I gave you that piece of advice that my friend gave me, where he said, be the mother, be the good parts of your mother to your child that your mother did with you, and then do the
Mm-hmm.
stuff that you wish your mother did and meet it right in the middle, and you will be fine. And that's what I told
Yeah.
Hannah. But like, your situation got so bad where it's just like, and then that's when I said you were trying to be like, "I want to help," and I'm like, "No, you were sidelined right now. You were going to go work on yourself and take care of you.
Yeah.
You need to go take care of your child. You need to go take
Mm.
it, because you were bad. It was
It was
scary."
really like it was scary. Like I've had to battle depression in like the past and like anxiety, but like it got to that point where I was like, the fact that there are people out there that have felt like this, it was so scary because I could justify like again, this is a trigger warning. I hate, but I want to be so transparent about it. And it's
Right.
not to scare anyone from ever having children, but it's to just say like, if you can set yourself up and like get have a village, have support, like it's gonna make a
Mm-hmm.
world of difference. I never want to see anyone go through what I went through. Like to just it was there that moment where I was walking with Bobby. you would think that like in that pit of despair I would feel worse, and this is what scared me the most, is I felt a sense of relief when I realized there was an exit, and that scared me because I
That's
was
bad.
walking him,
Yes.
and I remember thinking, I had like a bad day with him, like, and he's a great, like, I don't want to say like it's not his fault, like he's really
No,
a
you
wonder he's just a
biologically you
wonderful
were
child.
just
Right.
It
biologically
was
you were off the
everything
rails.
that I was having a hard time adjusting to motherhood, and I remember walking him and I felt relief wash over me, and it was the first time I felt relief in a long time, like like I could breathe, and it was because, and I heard it in my head. I heard, I don't have to do this anymore, and I remember hearing that in my head, and then I remember I started crying because I'm like, that's not good. Like to
Right.
hear myself say, you don't have to do this anymore. Like you could
Yeah.
just, you can be done. And
That's
then I was
not,
like, I'm
yeah.
calling Dustin. Like,
Yeah, that's when you
yeah,
that's when you know.
So I want to
and
give
that's when I
Leshkee her
knew.
time. I want to give
Yeah.
Leshkee her time too. But like that
Yes.
thing too is Leshkee's going through the same stuff. And like I feel really bad because I checked in on Leshkee like very little, if to nil, right? But I think part of it is because like I was so focused on what Hannah was going through, because Hannah and I are very, very, very close. Leshkee and I, we've been friends for a long, long
We're
time.
just getting
Mhm. Yeah.
But like Hannah, like I was at Hannah's wedding and all this, like like Hannah and I have been close for years. I've known Hannah
I
longer
don't
than
take offense,
Leshkee.
don't worry.
And
Yeah, don't
and thank you for not taking offense, but like it's just like
No,
Hannah
yeah.
has been like in my friend circle, one longer than Leshkee, and like Hannah and I have been so
Yes.
close for so long, and it's just one of those
You
things,
recognize there was something wrong. Like you could just tell
That's
based
yeah.
off of the,
right?
because it's easy to assume. I would
And
have
I
never known
think
Leshkee was going through
No.
that unless I was speaking to her.
right,
I
and
would have
it's one of
assumed
those
she was
things.
thriving at motherhood.
Right.
Like,
And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, like
hit it
Hannah's
well.
going through all this stuff, and it's just like, oh
Mhm.
shit, like I'm like from the back, bleachers I'm keeping an eye on Hannah, and I'm like, oh shit, like I don't even know if Leshkee's going through any of this stuff, because again, I did the same thing where I was like, hey, I don't want you to feel any pressure about this whole thing. You
Yes.
ladies come back when you are ready.
That was
when-
honestly the best thing you could have done.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I was like, hey, it's okay, it's like, Hannah, it's okay, Everest wants to do this. Everest wants to fill in and wants to, fill that void, and Everest has become a core component of the whole thing and all that stuff. And I'm like, hey, it's okay, you ladies, you go do your thing. Same with Leshkee. It's like, go do your thing. I'm not pressuring you for anything. You go be
Mhm.
mothers, you go do life, and you go, enjoy your thing. But like in the back burner of the whole thing, I just, Leshkee's going through the same stuff, and I'm like, oh no, like what's going on? Like,
Yeah.
and it sounds like you had the support system, and then when that support system slowly starts, and it's like, hey, you're a mom
Yeah.
now, you're on your own, like let's figure this out, it's your baby,
I think-
raise your baby.
Part of the issue is like I mentioned earlier that I over prepared, and I also had this like expectation that like, oh, I see so many times that I have people who are parents and they still have time to game, they still have time to do this, they still have time to
Mhm.
stream, they still have time to do this. So I was like, okay, great, it's gonna happen for me. So obviously I had TJ as a C-section, which unfortunately meant a little bit
Pain,
more
like
of a
recovery
time,
and
more
pain, yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
and it was super awkward, like with like, oh, no heavy lifting, no bending down. I was like, but there's a baby. So it's one of those things that I was blessed that my mom was able to stay for a month and a half, which I think I was still experiencing some postpartum because like, I couldn't game anymore. I wasn't, B, I wasn't getting much sleep, and it was starting to hit the reality of like, okay, life is going to be very different as I know it.
Mhm.
But it didn't quite hit until my mom left, because like obviously when my mom was here, she was trying her best not to help with the baby, but to help with the house chores and having
Yes.
dinner and lunch
Mhm.
ready and like breakfast and stuff like that. So once she left, it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, great. The first day I was doing a great routine. I had a good routine with keeping myself fed. And then as time went on, I couldn't. I was so
Mhm.
laser focused on TJ that I wasn't eating, and I got chunkier when I was pregnant. I was a size, I went from a 2 to a 6.
Right, which
So
is
I was
supposed to
dealing with
happen.
that body issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is supposed
Mhm.
to happen, and I was dealing with that body issue just seeing myself in the mirror. and just saying like, this isn't me. Like none of my clothes was fitting. I had to completely buy a brand new wardrobe. And then due to the postpartum depression, I ended up losing like 20, 30 pounds. So I went back down to a 4, which again gave me body issues because as soon as I was starting to get comfortable in my size 6, like the curves, I was like, oh, I love my curves. Like
Right.
I'm looking good. All right, great. I've accepted it. And now I went right back down to, I lost the curves and now like, great, cool. Like I'm a size 4. Like, everyone's like, oh, you shut up. But then like now people are like, you look so skinny. You're not eating and you're doing all that. They're doing all that stuff again. And it was, this is like, not to make anybody feel bad, but somebody was just like, oh, you look great. And I'm like, yeah, postpartum depression does that. And it was just instinctual for me to say that. Cause like, stop saying like, oh, you look great after the baby. You lost so much weight. Like, stop saying that. Like, that's not what I want to hear. But yeah, most of my, and I'm sorry, like my ADHD brain, I feel like is just going all over the place because there's just so much to
It's
talk
so
about.
much. Don't even
It's
worry
a
about
lot.
it.
Don't
Like,
worry, there'll be another episode about this in, a few
Part
months.
2.
Don't feel bad.
But yeah, I ended up getting to the point where, and this sounds terrible to say, but again, I'm also going to preface that I'm doing so much better now. I'm going to therapy and I'm talking to a therapist and stuff like that. But I actually like was holding TJ while he was crying one day, and I'm just like, I regret having you. I actually literally said, I regret having you. And the second I heard myself say that, I just burst into tears because I'm like, I love this child so much. How could I even say or think something like that?
Right.
But I ended up getting to that point where I was just like, yeah, great. Like, oh my gosh, it was, and I'm starting to tear up too, talking about it too. But that was one of those things where like, holy crap, like I can get to the point where I resent my own child and I never, ever, ever would want him to feel like mommy doesn't love me or mommy regrets having me. And that just piled into my head and just continued to just pour. And that's where that was my moment where I was just like, I can't do this alone. I have to go talk to someone. And, Tom did everything that he could. Like he was such a supportive husband and I was so grateful. Like I'm lucky that I had a very supportive partner and someone who's been there for me. And he really couldn't do much. And similar to Hannah, the rage, sometimes I would lash out at Tom, even if he was doing everything right. I, for some reason, decided to just be rude and just mad at him. And we lash out at the people we love.
It's crazy too, because a lot of times we associate like depression with sadness. Like Hannah knows a lot about this because she was like kind of around. She was around when I was going through, but like I would be sad. Like sadness always kicked in when like alcohol kicked in, right? But like sober wise, like if I wasn't drinking or whatever at the time, I would lash out. I would be angry. Like I would yell and I would say, mean things to people and things like that. And like, that's me like realizing like, I'm not happy. Like I'm lashing out and I'm being aggressive. Like I am not happy. It's not like, and then sadness is the deep down sadness you're going through. And we associate that a lot. That's like why your doctor, like Hannah's doctor is like, hey, if you're still feeling sad, like, well, I'm not sad. I'm just fucking angry. I hate the world right now. Right. And then
I hate that questionnaire.
And it's hard because it's all generic stuff. Like it's generic diagnosis. Like what do we do? Until it takes like a real therapist or psychologist or whatever to dig into it and really figure out what you're going through. Because like all my depressions were associated with anger and rage. I would lash out at my mother. I would lash out at my friends. I would lash out at whoever I was dating at the time. I'd raise my voice. I would be angry, and like that was a lot of it. I was just angry at the world. And then, so like you go through this stuff and then you kind of figure out why you're angry, why you're upset, why you get sad. And then it kind of pieces itself together. And then to the motherhood part of it, I'm thinking, well, mothers say it all the time, like, that's your child. How could you feel that way? It's like your child gives you so much, but it takes away.
It takes a lot.
Away so much. But I think the difference is that what the child takes away is to an extent temporary. But in that moment in time, it's just like, obviously your children get older, they become more self-sufficient, and you are able to go back to those hobbies you enjoy and are able to, integrate them, or you integrate your hobbies into your child's life, and you
Mhm.
Right.
take it that way. You like
Totally.
the books, you like books, so you take your kid in the stroller to the bookstore type of thing, right? So you like are able to do that thing, but like that, what that child takes away is to an extent temporary, but you in your head are so like, well, I'm lost everything. Like
I
I'm
lost who I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm no longer, I think also like when I had set expectations of streaming and I said like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm finally coming back to streaming. And then I was able to stream like a couple times here and there, but then TJ started having a sleep regression and I had to stop. I had to stop
Right.
streaming again. And then that's where like I was doing good. And we're going back down because I lost the one thing that I wanted for myself. Like I haven't
Right.
been able to
Mhm.
game. I haven't been able to do things like that. So that in itself definitely didn't help. It also doesn't help that I moved to Long Island and like all my best friends are in Pennsylvania. So
Yeah.
like I
Mhm.
had
You're
no
by
in
yourself
person.
to an extent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had no
Mhm.
in-person friends.
There's no
So
one there to
so
come
like
and tell you
Hannah's
like, hey, you play
exactly
games
to
with you while
come
one
over and
holds the
help.
baby or whatever,
Yeah.
type of
Yeah,
thing.
or even like have mom friends that we can go out together and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I've joined so many Facebook mom groups, but like they're not like me in terms of like
Yeah.
hobbies and stuff. Like what am they're like very like girly girls, oh, let's go to the salon and stuff. And I'm like, I just
Yeah.
want to, can we just grab our like our switches and hang
Switches.
out? Like
Yeah.
I couldn't find a mom, like you know what I mean? Like
And
I
it's like one of
downloaded
those
like
things
that dumb peanut app, and I'm like trying to find
I
gamer moms.
hated
And
it. Yeah, I couldn't
That's-
find any. I was like, I'm done with this.
and it's
But you know, I
because
go
you
ahead,
brought that
Eric.
to
I'm
me,
sorry.
Leshkee, where you were like, hey, I
Yeah.
want to come back and start doing this podcast, but like I haven't played video games. I was like, it's not a
That was
problem.
the
We have
issue.
other things you can talk about, We talked
Mhm.
about the Fallout TV show on the last episode,
Mhm.
It's not games, but it's
I
gaming
think,
related, So it's like there
yeah.
are things we can do, so you feel
Well, it
included.
was also pressure of like not pressure, but my wanting to come back to kind of return to some normalcy
Mhm.
or what things used to be in the back. But then like the reality is like I watch, I watch and listen to the podcasts as they come on. I'm just like, wow, they have so many things that they talk about, so many things they got to, the games they got to play, the shows they got to watch. And the last show I watched
Yeah.
is Atención, which is a kid's show.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I
Yeah.
can, relate to that. But
It's a weird thing because it's a very isolating feeling. Like, and that's
Mhm.
nothing that
Yes.
you guys are doing. Like, you guys are creating this podcast, but
Right.
like it to watch, you start to like realize as like a mom, like you you mourn it. Like even me
Mhm.
turning on the computer, I haven't turned on the computer in months. Like literally, you see this pile of laundry that was here. This became the laundry chair. You know how like there's always like the chair like, and I told Dustin today because like sometimes like my rage will pick up. Like I turned this on and I felt sadness and I looked at him and I said, "Just throw this thing in the fire." Like I don't get to use it anyway. Like that's how like the rage will come on. Like I feel and it's because I'm depressed. I don't get to sit here and game and just zone out and do something that brings me joy. And so in that moment, I was like, just set this thing to fire. Sell it. I don't care
Sell
what
it.
you do
Yeah.
anymore. Like I don't get to use it anyway. Like, and what you said earlier, Lesh, about like what you said when you said you regret when you're talking to TJ, like hearing you say that, I feel like I'm not crazy because I've said that to Bobby.
Yeah.
And in heat and like rage, I'm like, I remember I was having this moment where I was on the floor, like, and I think I was playing with him, but he was either teething or something. Like he was going through something that day. And Dustin came home and I'm sobbing. I'm having this like panic attack. And I said, I don't want him anymore. I don't want him. Get him away. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be a mom. I want to go back to what I was doing. Like, I don't get time for me. And then, Dustin just came home from work. He's like, what the
Yeah, seriously. Like,
now,
oh, shit.
now on the outside, you look at it like, damn, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. But like Tom, Dustin has been great and wonderful. And he's helped so much. And like, I feel so bad he's seen me at like these weak moments.
this our
But
worst.
like,
It's part of the vows.
I really wish like I could have heard this from other mothers because I
Me
thought it was
too.
crazy. So even you
Mhm.
hearing you say that about TJ, I'm like, thank God, because I thought I was like losing my mind.
Well-
I thought I was like the worst mom,
the
in
worst
the world.
mother in the world. Like, how could you
Yeah.
even say that?
Interesting
Yeah.
enough, like you don't see
Yeah.
those videos again. Social media, you don't
Yeah.
see those videos because
No.
they don't
Everybody
engage
likes
as
to-
well.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to see the happy moments of motherhood and da 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 da, and see
Mhm.
cute babies and all stuff. And then they see the depressive side of it, and they swipe. I don't need this crap in my life.
Yeah.
Because it's also like, if anybody does put that content out, the amount of people that go in there to just judge you and put you down
Yes.
even more and like
Mhm.
try to dig the hole. It's like, rather than being supportive and saying like, okay, yeah, that's a shitty thing to say, but at least you're acknowledging it. Like, people don't say that. They're like, wow, you're a shitty freaking person. How dare you think
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Like, that's how,
take
like,
your kids away.
I would love, I would love to be open and like talk about stuff like that, but then
Mhm.
I don't want to. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I am strong enough to know that like people out there on the internet, like the words sticks and stones
Yeah.
may break my bones kind of
Yeah.
thing. But like I don't want to deal with it, and I don't want other moms who feel the same way that I did to see that too, because it's just gonna pile on and make things
Mhm.
worse.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, okay, so I can't think this because this is what society thinks
Yeah.
of me if I were to think something like that.
And
So it's just ugh.
I will say, I know this is, but like you both you ladies do look like you are in much better places now. You
100%.
you look happier, you're healthier, you're working on it. And the stuff you want to do is going to come back.
Right.
Like you're gonna go be able to fire your PC again and play your games and all that stuff. You can go get Steam Decks. Steam Decks might help you ladies out. Both
I
of you.
have it.
I thought
I
about
have it, and it
That's the
didn't
thing.
help.
Oh, it
It
didn't help.
It
It
didn't
didn't
help in the
help?
beginning. It's good now.
Yeah.
It was fantastic during my pregnancy, but like when I was going through what I was going through, I
Well, yeah,
even
you're
wanted
in
to
a
sell the
place
Steam
now.
Deck.
No, but you're in.
Yeah.
Did you sell it?
No,
Or
no,
no?
no. I
Oh,
wanted
okay.
to. I was about ready. I'm like, oh, what's the point? Why did I buy this?
Right. You're in a
You know?
place now though where you could probably start utilizing something like that. You take kids to the
Yeah.
park or whatever, and you can start utilizing it. And do it. Or you on the couch while the kid watches TV or whatever. You're in a
The
position
one
now where
nap.
yeah, and you could start doing it again. It'll come back. It's not like be all end all.
It
The
will. It
world's
will.
over. It's just
Yes. So
temporary.
all the moms out there, it gets better. It can get better.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
don't
I'm
be afraid to
certain-
talk, please.
I'm certain
Yeah.
I'm going to probably go through the
It's-
same type of stuff. Like I told Hannah too. I was like, I saw
Yes.
that video where the dude bolted a high chair to his gaming desk and gave his kid a broken controller. I'm like, I stole that idea. I'm going to steal that idea, and that's what I'm going to do. Will it work? I don't know, but we're going to damn well try.
They actually sell those little chairs now. Like,
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
now you don't have to jerry rig your own little clamps. They actually do
Yeah.
have a
Okay,
Yeah, they have
good.
plenty,
So,
because you bring
like,
them to
specific one.
restaurants and stuff.
It's
Yep.
stuff like that. It's stuff like that I told Pat, like, I'm going to try and utilize to the best of my ability, because I do want to be a father that's there and is willing to, not. I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, just playing games and not paying attention to his kid. I don't want to be that person, and I'm not gonna be. I will utilize every
Right.
tool that's available to make sure that I'm a good father, but still get to do what I want to do. And I
Mhm.
told Pal the exact same thing. I was like, if you're gonna go do this and you want to do this, you need to tell me that you need
You're
to
a team.
take that baby. Like, hey, I want to go to the gym for an hour and do my workout. All right, fine, give me the baby.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's the one thing I love that I do have with Tom
Mhm.
is like, if we always talk to each other, and we said when we reach our breaking point, just be open about it, and let's let each other know, so that
Mhm.
because I think that happened. There was one time where it was taking me like over an hour and a half to put TJ back to sleep.
Mhm.
And he would fall asleep in my arms, put him in the crib, start crying, wake up. And I, 3:00 in the morning or 4:00 in the morning, who knows what time it was. I come in there and I told Tom, I was just like, I'm at my point. I was like, I'm about to chuck this kid out the window. I'm like, you're in.
Yeah.
So like it's a team effort. And to all the single mamas out there, how you do
I
it,
don't-
you are the
oh my
strongest people
gosh.
in the freaking world.
You
Major
deserve financial compensation. Like,
seriously.
I do not know how a single mother does this. Like,
God
I
bless
just
y'all.
I can't. Like, it was
They just
such
do.
a
It's
jarring
one of those
experience
things.
for
It's
me
true.
They just do.
that, like, I don't even know, like, and my feelings could change, but I've told Dustin, like, this experience has had me so frazzled that, like, I've considered, like, just having one child and being done.
Same.
Like, and I could change my mind, but I told Dustin, I said it would be like maybe, I'll be 32 in June, so like I think they say like 35, 36, like they start to
You're considered geriatric.
I hate that word. I'm like,
I hate it too. It's a stupid thing.
like-
That's why I'm like, where I'm at. I'm 30.
I had a
Fine.
So
I
I
had a
told Dustin,
coworker.
like maybe in a few
I had a
years,
coworker who
but
did them in a year. He did them back to back.
Yeah.
I can't.
like-
anyone that does the
I actually
202
physically
thing,
can't because
Well,
of the
I told
C-section.
him, like, yeah, I told him, I was like, are you crazy, dude? And he's like, you would think so, but he's like, look at this. I only have to go through the sleep deprivation thing once. I only have to go through the potty training thing once, et cetera, et cetera,
You
et
don't have to
cetera. And
start over,
he's like,
yeah.
I'm knocking it out now. Like, I'm getting it done, and then I can go back to
Yeah.
drinking my wine and living the good life, like with my kids. Like, I'm
that's
done.
how my friend was. She had 3 like back to back to back. And she's like, I just want to be over with it, and then they can all leave the house at the same time. For me,
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, I don't even.
But
It was tough. Like,
to each,
I sadly have
each
to make
their
that
own.
decision soon. Like I said,
Yeah.
I turned 36 this year. So, and I did say like, I would like maybe to wait until TJ's close to being 2 years old, to the point where like he can kind of help with me, like help, toddler help. Cause at the point,
Yeah.
like, but, that's where I said like, at a minimum, I do want to wait the year and a half or so, but
Mhm.
he is at the year and a month. So it's like one of those things where like, we got to make this decision soon.
Yeah.
And I'm still like up in the air about it. There's some days where like the good days, I'll say like when TJ sleeps
Yeah.
through the night, when TJ does this, and I'm like, okay, I can do this again. And then there's the nights where he doesn't sleep and he's teething and he's doing all this, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, no, I'm done.
Yeah.
So that's what sucks, is like I'm
Yeah.
still in that like,
It's that limbo phase.
yeah,
Because I'm
I'm
like,
going
I
back
can't-
and forth.
I kind of want a girl. I'm just thinking, like, he would be such a big, nice, good big
Yeah,
brother.
good big
and I'm
brother,
like,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
Pow and I had a
I don't-
girl name
there's-
we picked.
Ugh.
Pow and I had a girl name that we picked if we ever have a girl. And
Do you want to tell us, or are you gonna wait till you have your girl?
no, I'll tell you. It took a while for us, and we're gonna start winding down here. So it took us we were kind of both on the fence about it, and I told Pau, I was like, "What do we have a girl?" And I told her, I was like, "I want to name her Ellie Reagan." And
Aw.
Oh, I think you told me this.
yeah,
I
she was
love
like,
that.
the Ellie part. For those that don't know, the Ellie
Yeah.
part comes from The Last of Us, because that's
Last
the
of Us,
game
right.
Pau and I
figured.
bonded over when we first met. So like, Ellie, and
That's
plus
so
Ellie's
cute.
strong and she's resilient and she's supposed to save the
Mhm.
world type of thing. So I was like, Ellie's perfect. And then Reagan comes from one of my favorite musicians ever, Chuck Reagan, who's very inspiring to me and all that stuff. And I said, I like Ellie Reagan, and it just blends nicely
It's
together.
unique, and it actually, I was gonna say, it sounds really
Yeah.
great together. I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Yeah, so
I also have
do.
a girl name picked out, but
Yeah,
it's
the
one of those
boy
things
one's
where I'm
harder.
like, ugh.
The boy one is harder.
Honestly, yes. That was one of the things. It's like when we had TJ, at first, like, Tom wanted the Tom name.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And I'm very like, I have a unique name, so I wanted my kid to have a unique name. And I'm just like, well, I didn't want another Tom, but so we decided, I'm like, how can we make it fun? And so that's how I was like, all right, let's do a middle name with the J. So we
Yeah.
can do
Yeah.
TJ, or he could decide in the future if he wants to be TJ, if he wants to be Tom, if he wants to be Tommy, whatever he wants to be when he gets older. But
Mhm.
then I was like, so the middle name is Javier, because I wanted that Spanish, like,
oh,
when
nice.
you yell at him, like, Thomas
I like
Javier,
that.
like, like.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's
love
the
that.
reason behind it.
I know I wanted Dylan. Like, I want the middle name to be Dylan, because Bob Dylan's my other, musical hero. So I wanted to name Bob Dylan.
Oh, I
like,
thought it was
from
Big
Bob.
Dill that you.
No. Just Dill will be around
I just
when the
ruined-
baby's
I was
born,
gonna
but
say,
you're-
when you say Dylan, the first person I thought of in my head was Dill, and I was
No,
like,
so like the middle name would actually come from Bob Dylan. Like Dylan would be the middle name, but I can't decide between, like, it's hard to find like a Spanish name that goes with it, because Pau does want a Spanish name to some
Right.
extent, But we'll figure it out. It'll come
Do
eventually.
the
But yeah, Ellie
Hispanic
Reagan.
thing where you take the first couple letters from dad, and then the last couple letters from mom. Ayola.
Ayola. Might as well just call him Areola. Like something wild like that. To end it here, we do have a question here to end on a little bit of a positive note. We got a question in the chat here. What is your lady's favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate chip cookie dough.
Was that
I was
the
gonna
was
say,
that
I
the
love
pregnancy
chocolate.
craving flavor? What was the pregnancy
No,
craving
that was.
flavor?
Oh my, no. We won't talk about pregnancy craving. I didn't want ice cream. I wanted Chef Boyardee.
Oh God.
That's good. I ate a lot of that while I was pregnant.
What's your favorite ice cream flavor, Hannah?
I like chocolate chip cookie dough, but like during pregnancy, I was very. Oh, do I have a visitor?
Oh, here he comes. Here he comes. Let's end the note here. Here he comes.
Come here, baby.
Oh my gosh.
Look at his
Look at
face.
him. Even I melt. Look how cute.
He looks like
Can
Dustin.
Can you say hi?
I
Hi.
think he looks like Hannah.
What? Where are you seeing the Hannah?
Can you say hi?
Oh.
There you go.
Oh my
See, now I
Lord.
want
He
another.
Looks like he looks like Dustin. He looks like Pal. Close your eyes. Don't look at any of this. Don't look at any of this. What he looks like Dustin. I see Dustin.
Look at the facial
Actually,
expression he's making, though. He's like,
I'm
what's
not gonna
going
lie.
on?
I kind of see your dad, maybe Hannah. I
You
see your
my
dad. I see your dad a little bit in the eyes.
Yeah, well, Bobby has hazel eyes.
Oh,
So my dad has
Ah.
blue eyes. Dustin has hazel. So,
interesting.
yeah, you want to say hi?
Pal, stop watching. You can't look at this no more.
Yeah, my baby.
The snuggle. See, this is like that's what
He's
makes
like
it all
watching
work.
They have.
Leshkee.
Oh,
He's,
so
like,
Hannah.
zoned in.
Hannah's been embracing me with the Bobby Rock outfits. There's the Metallica T-shirts and the Rock T-shirts have been starting to show up. So
Oh
I'm
yeah,
like,
he
Now
oh.
that
goes
they're-
to school with
It's a lot easier to find stuff this sizes now.
Yeah, dude.
know.
Although I was very disappointed, we were actually going to buy Pau's niece a gift for her birthday, and they have like all the graphic T-shirts, like the Marvel stuff and all of that, but they don't have any of it for the girls. It's all like the boys' colors and stuff like that, and that's kind of disappointing.
I know. That's why, like, I really wanted unisex.
Yeah,
Yeah, Bobby agrees.
yeah, yeah.
He's like, yeah, unisex.
He's adorable.
Yeah.
Well, while Bobby's here, I want to take to take the time to say thank you both, ladies. You are both looking fantastic. You are looking
Sorry.
much better, in terms of where you're at in terms of health
Yeah.
and everything. It was a rough one for both of you, but
Yes.
it's all rewarding and it's all fulfilling, and there's the proof on the screen right there. Do I still have the?
That's
Hannah?
what I always say.
Yeah.
It is worth
I
it.
don't have it. I
It
don't
is
have the full
worth it,
cam.
but for the people out there that say that they don't want kids, it's okay.
Yeah,
It's totally
okay.
okay.
It's totally okay.
To-
If you're not
totally okay.
if you don't feel that parenting is for you, that's perfectly okay. Do not let the world tell you.
Correct.
know.
Don't feel pressured. If
Yeah,
you have
that's
any
not
sort
the
of pressure to
pressure.
do it, don't do it. Do it. It's a sole decision for you and your partner whether or not you want to be parents. Because yes, it is.
Yeah.
It changes your life
It does.
for
Yeah.
sure.
And I think,
That is right.
at the time I didn't want to be one. Like I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. And, but now that, mentally I'm in a place where it's like, you know what? I think, maybe it is, maybe I do need that thing to, kind of come full circle and
Who's that?
really, heal and be like, a parent and just
Can you say
find the
Leshkee?
true happiness and everything. So yeah, he looks like Dustin. I don't know. I see Dustin.
Everyone says me, but
I was gonna say, whenever I think it's because I saw like a baby picture of Hannah and I was like, oh
Yeah.
my god, it's like a clone.
I don't think
Bobby's
I've
a
seen Hannah
clone.
baby pictures. So
I'll have to send you some.
we're gonna just keep him on the screen for as much as possible. We're gonna ride the algorithm with this one.
Okay, baby. Can you say baby? Say baby.
Look at all them Hot Wheel cars.
The facial expressions. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
look
I
at him.
love
The
it.
joy in the heart. Well, ladies, thank you so much for your time. Hannah, thank you for putting this whole thing
Mhm.
together.
Yes.
Of course.
Hannah and I are going to talk more, but we hope to bring this show back on a regular basis to an extent. So, Leshkee, when you're ready to come back, of course, when you're ready to actually come back and do the thing, open arms. Don't be afraid to, even if you say like, I can only come from this amount of time or I can only come for half of it or whatever, you just say the word and the door is open.
I appreciate that. Hopefully soon TM.
Yes.
Yes.
Take your
we
time.
Love it.
Take your time, do your thing, be mothers, enjoy life, and
Yes.
get to that place.
Bye.
And then, when you're ready, you come talk to us.
Bye-bye.
Do you ladies have anything before we close out here? Aside from, if you don't want to be a
no,
mom, don't worry about it. Like
That's-
anything
that
else
was
you
my
want to
thing.
close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was healing to talk about this, honestly. So it was
Therapeutic.
thank you for
Yeah.
letting us
I know.
voice this. Like
Hannah and I definitely did keep in touch with Instagram, and like we did come to find that the both of us were feeling very
Mm.
similar, but still like hearing Hannah today, like share, and thank you for sharing, by the way.
no
Hearing
thanks.
Hannah share that, like it helped. It's healing me because like obviously if unfortunately thoughts like that do happen. And sometimes when you feel like you're the only person that feels that, then it's super duper isolating. But to hear that I'm not alone.
Right.
So I thank you for this.
No,
This
thank
was
you for
super
that. The
awesome.
minute
Well,
you said those things, I was like, oh my gosh, thank you.
And of course, just to state that here, of course, if you are
There we
feeling
go.
any of those symptoms or you are feeling any of those thoughts or anything that like
No.
Leshkee and Hannah shared, do go, see your doctor, go,
Talk to
seek
someone.
help. Yeah. Talk to
Yeah.
someone, go seek help, because you don't want to end up in a position where you're thinking things that could be truly catastrophic,
Yeah.
especially if you have, a child that depends on you in the world. So if you do have any of these thoughts, do seek help, go find, speak to your doctor, speak to your therapist, and do go
And I
get the
know
help that you need so you can.
if you can't afford a doctor or don't have insurance, just literally just talk to someone, anyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like family, friends, anybody.
Anyone that can listen,
Anyone
go
that can
talk
listen.
to someone.
Even doing that, like it's not 100%. Like obviously therapy is probably highly recommended, but at a minimum, just talk to someone.
Talk
What
to
I would
someone.
say is if you know any person in your life that just had a baby, I think the biggest
Yes.
piece of advice I could give you, instead of like bringing a meal is so wonderful. Like that helped me so much. Like bringing a meal, coming over to like maybe offer to clean the house or whatever. It's amazing. But I think the most important thing I would have loved is if someone just came over and just looked me dead in the eye and with more like sincerity, how are you doing?
Yes.
That would have made such a difference. Like, because everyone's like, how's the baby? How's this?
Yes.
Like,
When yeah, if you know someone who's about to have a kid, like make sure to give them the space. But yeah, like Hannah said, like ask how the mom's doing, how dad's doing too,
Yeah.
because a lot of times a lot of people forget about dad as well.
Which
and
reminds me, I
yeah.
do have to call Dustin. I haven't called Dustin in a minute. I do have to call Dustin. But
Yeah.
yes, check in on your friends.
Check in on your friends.
That's one of the mistakes
Even
I
if you hate
admittedly
kids.
I admit this mistake. Like, I didn't check in on all my friends. Please check in on your friends and make sure that they're
Yeah.
okay.
I'd
Don't just be
same
like,
with
how's
me.
your baby?
I didn't check in.
Check
Right,
in
that's
on
the
your
thing. It's
friends.
like, oh, how's motherhood? Like rather than asking how's motherhood, go straight to like, because that was the thing that I used to do, and now that I'm a mom, I'm like, I'm so sorry.
I
Yeah.
I'm
know.
so
Check in on your
sorry.
friends.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay. On that note, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna close out here. Next week
Yes.
is Good Friends, Good Games. That's episode. Hannah, what episode is it? I want to
Quick,
say
someone
it's
help.
30 something.
30. It's 30 something.
It's 30 something. Hold on, I got it here.
It's the episode next.
It's episode next. Yeah, no, Good Friends, Good
love.
Games episode. That is going to be,
Why
I
are you
believe,
so
30.
shy?
Oh, no, I don't even have this one updated yet. Yeah, Good Friends, Good Games is next week. Good Friends, Good Friends next Saturday.
40.
We'll,
Hey.
Oh, 40 already? Wow.
what is it? Is it 40?
Yeah, Pouse is 40.
Who said it's 40? Oh, snap, it's 40. Okay, episode 40 is next week.
Let's go.
Same time,
Nice.
same channel. We'll see you guys very, very soon. Of course, this is good. This is the good people there. This is myself, Eric. We got Leshkee. We have Hannah. We hope to all see you again very, very soon. You guys have a great afternoon. And thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.